Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to Rise Up After Dark. That's right, it's the place where we let our hair down, BYOB, DYOR. Tonight, I'm drinking water as we answer everybody's crypto questions. Hopefully you're drinking something more exciting. Alex, what do you got?
Rum and cream soda.
Ooh, I'm not a cream soda guy. You like cream soda? What? Oh, man.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, man, I can't stand that. I got to gwump you for that. But
Fuck you, no. That's bullshit. That's
I also like cream soda, and since you're dishing out points, you get no points. Therefore, we are tied, right? And I brought a Montucky cold snack.
We'll see how you feel about it. Okay. As you can hear, this is our good friend, Emily Herrick. Emily loves crypto. She's going to be on the TikTok live stream in a second. And if you want to see her face because you're listening in the future in podcast land, first of all, hello. We hope your candles are green. Second of all, come on over to the YouTube recording. Just search Rise Up After Dark on YouTube, and you will find this video along with a playlist of past episodes. After Dark is the show where we take your crypto questions. We do a little altcoin research. We give our first impressions on the crypto projects you share with us. And of course, we pick the brains of our expert, friendly guests. Emily, do you remember the game that we played last time?
Yes.
Of course you do, because you're picking on me about Gwumps. But just in case it's someone's first time listening, every time you hear this sound, it means the person who's speaking has received a point. And every time you hear this sound, it means the person who is speaking has lost a point. And at the end of the night, the person with the most points will win a fabulous prize for someone in our audience. It could be an Arculus cold storage wallet. It could be a piece of swag we picked up at the conference or from our friends at Polygon. It's all up to you. And Alex, I wonder if you've got your random number generator so we can find out who we're playing for tonight.
I can't.
Need a little drum roll?
Stall.
This seems like a good time to remind you that the Rise Up Morning Show and Rise Up After Dark are, in fact, powered by our friends at Polygon. They're pioneering the ag layer. They want you to think of them first for payments on chain, and they are doing so much more. We've talked about how to stake your Pol to ensure that you're eligible for some of the airdrops that have been announced to the community, like Katana, like Maiden, and many more. We've got a number of builders from across the ecosystem coming on the show to talk about what they're working on, including friend of the show, Evan McMullen, returning to After Dark in just a couple of weeks. We've got Crypto Texan. What's his real name, Alex?
Justin.
You know everybody's real name. Justin.
Yes.
Coming on the show to talk about, he's with Katana, right?
He's the head of DeFi at Katana.
My goodness gracious. And I do have to say that if you didn't get enough of Mark Boyron, CEO of Polygon, when he was on the show, he was on Boys Club on their show, Dumb Bitch Hour today, which is fantastic. And
Phenomenal.
I've got to tell you, if you like the Rise Up Morning Show and you always have fun with like me and Alex and our little silly banter, you should really check out Boys Club and specifically that show because they have just a wonderful brand. They've got wonderful chemistry and they do a really good interview. It was a really great conversation. If maybe when you heard Mark the first time you thought, I'd like to go a little deeper, they asked him a lot of good questions about AgLayer, about Katana, and I highly recommend it. You can find it by searching them on all socials. I believe they're at Boys Club World. Alex, have you got a random number generator up for me with all of our Discord premium members?
So I've got the full list of premium and premium plus alike. And if someone else wants to do the honors, I will. This is real rinky dink. I've just got everyone up on the TikTok. Take a look. Everyone's up on the big screen.
We can't hear you, man.
Everyone's up on the big screen.
Like,
and if someone, Evan, do you want to roll? You want to roll me a number? Let's decentralize this shit a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna roll you a number with my.
And then I'm gonna count like our ancestors used to manually from the top down.
Okay, I've rolled you a number on the 8-ball by determining how many characters are in its response. It says, in case you're curious, bull run ahead. That's 4 plus 3 plus 5 is 15, Alex.
Okay, stand by.
Take your time. And I'll also remind you that if you want to be eligible for a fabulous prize on Rise Up After Dark, or you just want to accelerate your crypto learning journey, then check out the riseupmorningshow.com. We offer a free membership trial for anybody who wants to consider the premium or premium plus resources in our community. It's basically deeper access to us and extra discounts on all the fun stuff that we sell. We try to make everything free. But the things we just can't offer for free, we will sell, and we want to sell them at a discount to the people who really want to use them. And truly, the benefit is being in the room with other deeply engaged learners at all levels of experience. You can check it out later. But Alex, I think you got a winner for us for now.
Sure do.
One of the perks of premium. Tell me who it is.
Absolutely. It is. So it's actually, here's a name. I don't know your first name, but I do recognize your Discord handle. It's eaaymoney, but it's easy without an S. So it's just eaaymoney.
eaaymoney. Okay, eaaymoney. Congratulations. Somebody will win tonight. And if they do,
I'll DM you. Well, I'm not going to DM you. I'm going to tag you in public and tell you to DM me.
Okay. That sounds perfect. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
That's what I said.
I don't know how to sell this thing.
Of course, Will Watson, a.k.a. dolphin_coin_guide, is not here tonight. He's taking a little break, but in his place, we have recruited our dear friend, Emily Herrick, to come back. Emily, thank you for your patience while we got the housekeeping out of the way. We're so glad you came back to the show. Do you want to take a second in case there are folks tuning in who didn't catch you last time to just let them know who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Emily Herrick. I co-founded Foolproof Labs. I think we're 3 years old today, actually. I think it's our birthday. If I'm, which is exciting. We just got our patents granted, which was highly controversial because I guess nobody is aware of all of the patents granted for blockchain. But yeah, we've been building for a long time, mostly foundational or like emergent security layers on blockchain. And I've kind of been around for a while, depending on how well aged you are in crypto, but lore for another day. I'm also very delighted because I spent most of my day wallpapering a tiny bathroom, and they just like installed my vanity, and I'm honestly, I'm feeling really smug about my interior design choices. Like, I am an excellent interior designer. This is a hidden talent I didn't know I had. So
okay.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
that's
exciting.
very cool. And congratulations on all the big stuff. If you want to hear more about Foolproof Labs, then check out the last episode we did with Emily. It's a couple down in the Rise Up After Dark playlist. It's full of gems. And I've got to say, Emily, honestly, the best part for me was when we got to talk about memetics. I feel like that is such an overlooked part of internet culture for like the casual consumer. But it's such an important rabbit hole to go down because it unlocks so much, I think.
I think the internet really unveils it. And it creates an environment for like rapid feedback and rapid learning, but it's always been around, right? It's really just the act of copying. So anyways.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's, I think, accelerated. The internet, I would say, is like the most novel medium for one-to-many communication that we've ever invented. Text, language, it allows you to preserve a message, share it quickly, maybe even beyond the grave. But boy, the proliferation, the velocity of the internet is absolutely wild.
Right. And watch me segue. This will be fun. Okay. So that's kind of how we've experienced memetics with internet up until recently, where if the product is free online, you're the product, right? And I think that's been said before without people really understanding what that means. And what's happening when you're in a free environment like TikTok, right? Like Facebook, like Instagram, like Google, whatever it is, they're using your data to generate revenue, right? They're capturing a profile on you, and they're generating or pairing you up with ads that fit your profile, and they're selling those ads to other people. So they're taking your attention and they're selling it to other people. And one of the most interesting things that I've always kind of I guess volleyed around with in my head about blockchain and like, when is this really going to become a reality, is the fact that in your regular day-to-day internet exploration, you're gonna download cookies, right? And I live in California, so I have to manually accept cookies on every single page I land on. I get a pop-up that says, accept cookies, decline cookies, control your privacy, or whatever. and that's like becoming more prolific. But what's really interesting about blockchain in general is that because you have this environment where people are constantly I'm drinking beer and I burped. People are constantly making these transactions and these micro engagements, right? And these you're pressing buttons, you're turning levers, you're sending, you're receiving, like all of those things are creating a really extensive web and a profile. But like what you have the ability to do on blockchain that you don't have the ability to do on traditional internet is you can reclaim your data, right? You can say, that's my profile, you're using my profile, you owe me money, right? Where you can reclaim the monetization of your interests and your profile as an individual, where before you're just a byproduct. And like now, as we're experiencing kind of the collapse of knowledge workers because of things like AI, your opinion and like the fact that you're a human is becoming more and more valuable. And that's, what informs all of this AI. So like, I think we're going to see a lot of companies being funded that are really capturing that in a super interesting way. And my company has features that could support that, like through our patents and stuff. Not the entire experience, but I think it's like really fascinating how this is evolving.
Yeah, and it's the cool thing to me about it is like the ability to prove what is yours and get all the rights of ownership, but also maybe be able to like preserve your privacy and anonymity. We had our friend DeWoofy, David Finkelstein, on the show today. He's over at Opacity Network, and they're big into zero knowledge and specifically ZK-TLS. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Opacity, but it's very cool to think. I feel like we're at a meaningful inflection point where some of the stuff we've been talking about kind of theoretically, because of patents like yours, because of products like theirs, network solutions are really going to start to take shape for everyday people. Do you have a time frame for like when the consumer internet will finally be free? Like, what do you see, and what kind of products do you think are next to come down the pipeline for people?
So I think one of the biggest problems with the adoption of blockchain into like the regular experience has been just all, you see all the cords, you see all the plugs, you see all the hardware, you have to do all the complex mechanics. It hasn't really been smoothed out and made easy. But there is a lot of power to it, right? Like, I spent a huge amount of time writing like a SOC 2 compliance document for our products.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And like something that people, I think, I'll just like bring it up again. Something that I think people don't necessarily understand if you haven't worked in B2B software sales as like a vendor is that you're never going to sell your product to a major corporation if you don't have SOC 2 compliance. Right. And this is one of those things people talk about. They're like, oh, when is mainstream adoption of shit coins? You're like, why would they do that? But when it comes to blockchain and things like SOC 2 compliance, which is like internal compliance from legal and accounting, as far as protecting data and protecting like their revenue sources.
It's a security thing, right?
But it comes down to protecting revenue is what it comes down to. But what's really interesting about it is a lot of the requirements are things like managing permissions and access to certain pieces of software and maintaining an audit trail. And all of this is emergent functions of blockchain. It's interesting. Yeah.
Well,
that was it. Yeah.
The kind of juncture that it makes me think of that we're seeing at this moment right now in what you describe is people are starting to talk about InfoFi. For people who are unfamiliar with this term, it is. Do you guys happen to know who said it first?
Dude, I don't know.
It's a trend of the moment, but it's a thing that's been happening.
On that topic, recently somebody like stole one of my tweets that was like many months old. And I was like, oh God, like I'm always right in the end, but man, they got like 150,000 likes. I was upset. But will we ever know? I think that there was some episode of like Dakota Ring, which is a podcast like where they figured out who said selfie first, and it was like 2011. But anyways, we will never know. However, I do think InfoFi is effectively a misnomer, and it's just like a rebranding of how hard can you shell on a timeline.
Totally.
Yeah. I don't think it's the InfoFi we're looking for, right? Like it
needs a brand. It needs a name, and then it'll fly.
Yeah.
Then we can put a token on it, and we can go to our VCs and show them a deck and say, here are the top 10 new hot InfoFi products we're going to invest in. Yeah.
Well, I think
plus
that's
AI,
it, though.
plus.
Yeah, I mean, slap this many buzzy things, and you had to rebrand. It had to be a new Fi, obviously, because the first thing
Fi
I thought
means
was
money, so
Right.
that's good.
But I just mean, like, if we're shown that, the first thing I thought when I saw InfoFi was like, first of all, what the hell is this? Do I have to learn a new thing now? And then I was like, wait a second, isn't this just like SocialFi 2.0? Like, it's the same shit. It's just a different.
It's SocialFi without like a real platform. It's just,
Yeah.
it's like, I think, okay, so what I do think is interesting about it is if you actually unpack it, these companies, without, collecting TVL and like forcing you to put money on chain, what they have done is made a new facet of the gig economy, right? Where they're saying, go do our marketing and we'll pay you.
Yep.
But they're hyper spending upfront on marketing, and then there's like no sustainability. And,
That's a good point
model.
to
Why would
hit
you want that?
That shit I feel like is going to continue to become more and more and more of a thing. I've seen it pop up in a whole bunch of different instances. It's this idea like, hey, insert phantom reward structure here. Go make a buttload of content about us, and maybe it'll pay off for you someday. It's like, hey, how can we get free marketing? And it's there you go. And I mean, Evan, this is, I don't know if I'm going to talk a little shit. It's after dark, but
Talk a little shit.
this is how we got onboarded to the base ecosystem, was exactly this. It was basically just like, hey, you guys are a perfect target candidate for a grant in the creator capacity. It'd be so cool if you could talk about this. Following that, Evan and I proceeded to talk about this for a little bit. No grant ever arrived, and we just quit and left because it's like, okay, this is not going anywhere.
You know what I've discovered, actually?
What?
Not a single blockchain actually gives grants. They don't give them. Like, they let you apply. I mean,
there's a lot of
like
blockchain. You got to
Let's-
clarify, because I would stand to differ.
Yeah, I would argue with that.
Okay, so like they're like a
I've gotten
handful are
some.
given out. Right. Okay, so like a handful are given out, but it's like nothing to the degree of the grant pool that they put out there. And then like many of them just never pay.
So I found out from a friend of mine who works in grants and funding that a particular ecosystem paid $17 million in funding last year alone. And they
Incredible.
said, quote, we have nothing to show for it. And
Yeah, I think that's
we then proceeded to talk about, because I have a lot of problems with the way the grant programs work. Here's a spicy take. You need a grant program of some sort to run an ecosystem. You simply have to have some kind of an option, right? You got all this freaking money, like do something good with it. But, well, I've only ever seen really one ecosystem straight up refuse to do anything at all, and they never got anyone, and they're completely floundering, and no one does anything over there. Shout out Multiverse X. What's up? How's it going? Not incentivizing a single builder to do anything for you. Hope it's crushing it.
Going from Olympus X.
But the problem is that the way that they're set up is kind of set up to be either exactly what you said, Emily, like put so many barriers and so many requirements and so many ridiculous deliverable things you couldn't possibly meet that you just straight up never qualify for one. So you can advertise gigantic multi-$100 million ecosystem fund that nobody on earth qualifies for because none of us meet the requirements. Or you do what happens to this particular blockchain that paid out millions and millions and millions of dollars and got nothing back for it. Because if I'm the grant recipient, all I have to do is be like, hey, I know exactly what to say to you to get a grant. I know exactly how to fill out a grant application and get grant funding. Like, I can make it sound like it's going to be great, and I've got a resume. And then all I have to do is, like, meet my first couple of deliverables. That's easy, whatever. Anybody can do that. And then just be like, hey, guys, I'm so sorry. Market conditions don't really feel great right now. Like, this just happened, and this isn't good, and too much competition with this. We're going to push a little bit. It doesn't matter. I already collected my first 2 milestones. So I've got tens of thousands of dollars that I just got from you to effectively do nothing. And now I can just leave, and the blockchain doesn't really have any recourse for that. Because what you gave a grant. You didn't they didn't sign a contract to continue to get endless funding. They're not beholden to build a product because things in business go wrong all the time. And there you go. Predatory relationship. It's parasitic.
Okay, so hear me out. Like, I'm all for grants in the real world, right? But like when it comes to blockchains, I feel like the incentives are completely misaligned. So I mean, if you know how a blockchain makes money, ultimately it comes through validating transactions, right? So they created the blockchain themselves. They created the token. They set up the initial validator nodes. Therefore, they have validators running, right, to make the blockchain happen. So the more volume that they can put through the chain, the more validation fees they're going to earn, right? Okay, so like you must have volume as a blockchain to exist as a blockchain. And you have to, load up. I mean, if it's Solana, it's different, but like in an EVM network, you have to load up your mempool in order to put a transaction through, and then you pay the fee, right? Like these things are important. That's how this works. Okay, but the thing is there's a reason that people are spending so much time and energy on particular blockchains, and it's because, and this is a lot of what we talked about last time, they have the tooling that is required for the engineers themselves to make money. That's what it comes down to. Like, if you don't have the tooling on your blockchain, no amount of grants is ever going to get the right builders in there. They're going to come and take the money and they're going to deploy their product that already exists, but they're not going to spend time there. And people aren't attracted to it, right? Because there isn't enough arbitrage for money to go up. So like, this is really a fault of all the people that are launching blockchains that have no idea how blockchains actually make money, because it's completely different than how you make money in Web 2.
Yeah. Well, and two, I would say that one massive problem that I can't even think how many times I've had this conversation. I literally just had it today with two different people. If what you're doing is trying to incentivize the builder to come in, and the only thing that you're offering is a grant program that you can apply for in exchange for deploying something, who gives a shit? All I want is transactions or wallet counts or some kind of metric that I can track and say on-chain activity has increased by X in whatever capacity. That's what I care about. But I'm also not providing any kind of like accelerator services or marketing services or just hookups to then bring any users to the thing you're doing. And I have actually no plan for user retention. That's all on you. So I can either like chalk it up to your failure as a builder because you're an engineer who just got a grant to do whatever, but also surprise, you're supposed to be, a 16-in-1 co-founder of all of this other stuff and get all these users to come in and do all this kind of crap. If that blockchain would just split the grant fund and give half of it to builders, because I agree with you, Emily, we do not need this much money going towards grants. Like, people can do a lot with a little if they are then properly set up to accelerate after something gets deployed with like a group of users who could come in and be like, hey, let's pick this thing apart. This part sucks. This needs to get worked on. This part's great. I love this feature. This is awesome. I would use this. I wouldn't use this. Whatever it is, that feedback loop never happens. Yeah. So these people ship something to alpha, to beta, and then they just send it off into the ether. It never gets a single user. They all go out of business and rinse and repeat next year with a fresh fund.
So yeah, it's not only that, but also even with my knowledge of how blockchains actually monetize and how token design should work and how DEXs do work and where people are taking advantage of it, if I speak to someone like from a blockchain about that, they look at me like I've got three heads. Like they don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, I don't understand how I'm discussing this and you run an actual blockchain and have no understanding of what I'm saying. But what I have found consistently about grants is that at least for a lot of the chains I've proposed on, I'll later see them advertising that as like incredible things you can do on their chain without having ever replied to me. So I don't know, maybe I'm just like a little extra salty about it. Like,
there's a lot to be salty about though.
Oh yeah, right. Like I've worked so hard for so long with like, I don't want to say nothing to show for it. Like I've got a patent that was like on my bucket list, but like, oh my God, it is.
Well,
it's nuts out there.
You deserve some credit because 3 years of a thing being alive is in crypto land. That's insane. It's just like, congratulations on celebrating your bicentennial.
I'm coasting on Lindy alone at this point, right? Like I've been around long enough, can't get rid of me now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and to your point, we keep doing the same model. I was also feeling frustrated last night, and I just wrote this. I think it should be near the top of my feed. Evan Stahl. Oh my God. Okay, here. Perfect. Thank you so much. That was perfect.
I knew you only needed 5 seconds.
My brain just shut down the second you
Sorry.
So we keep doing this.
Read it out for the people in podcast land, Alex.
In podcast land, what I wrote was the model seems to be new thing launches, everyone talks about the thing, everyone gets bored, the thing launches a token, the token inevitably dumps, everybody talks about how they definitely saw this coming, rinse and repeat. And this was explicitly fueled by watching 6 or 7 different large creators on Twitter that I have seen just endlessly shilling Laudio. And then the second that like we got to where we're at right now, they're like, here's how I saw the downfall of Laudio coming. This is stupid. And I'm like, you have literally no fucking shame. And but we're gonna do it again because something is going to succeed. But like, Laudio.
Listen, and here's what I mean by like these chains, these VCs, whatever. They have no idea what they're doing. They will just inject the shit out of these liquidity pools with buckets of money, and like there is no better way to bait a market making bot and like an arbitrage bot than to fill a liquidity pool with buckets of money. Like it's so easy to do. Like I don't even know how to code, and I can like copy pasta someone's bot and like figure that one. Like it's so easy. For like the layman, please do not put a seed phrase into a computer program you download off the internet. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
It's truly crazy, like just how many times they've done the same exact thing, and like nobody can make it sustain. And it's because, at least here's my thesis. Okay, it's because the liquidity runs out, and the liquidity is the tangible value in a lot of these protocols, right? There's the TVL locked on because there's the promise of a token that's going to be worth X amount. But once the liquidity runs out, there's nothing left anymore, right? So they haven't created the proper incentive structure, when what they really need to be doing is gaining the attention, right? This is an attention economy, gaining the attention, gaining the transactions, getting people to like speculate and create content around how to rack up the most points for the airdrop, whatever it is. But then what they have to do is they have to get ready to announce the next token, right? So if the first one was for attention, then the next one is going to be for engagement, right? So like you have your attention token, and now you have your engagement token. So, I've been paying attention, good for you. Now you have your engagement token. So you can go out there and you can start making transactions, and that's going to boost your engagement points. And this is like advice that I actually gave to somebody recently who's launching a token on like one of these hot protocols. They were launching like a single faceted token that didn't have like, they kept saying it's got a lot of, Ponzinomics in there, which is like, okay, Ponzinomics is kind of fun. But ultimately what you need to do is you have to create a token for that one to fold into, right? So it's like, if you're going to give it away for free, you have to have them start racking up points by spending more of the token that you gave them away for free in order to maximize their points for the next token. And then you can put those two tokens together into a liquidity pool. And when people start jumping from one to the other, now you can recollect that token that you had issued out too much of ultimately, and then you can refill your liquidity pool, especially if you have your own market making bots running on it. But it's like we just see this over and over and over again. I don't know what the hell is going on.
But see,
it's crazy.
It is crazy. It's literally the definition of insanity. But the thing that kills me is that as an outsider on Twitter looking in, who, like I said, I'm on Twitter every day, but I do it to talk to my friends. And then every now and then I like tap into the conversations happening between the big KOLs and the big personalities, whatever. And I'm always like, oh, you guys are doing the same shit you're doing 6 months ago with a different ticker? Got it. I'll check back in 6 months. Nothing is going to change. But the part that kills me is that it could, with one little addition. And I'm kind of thinking, and I would really love to get your reaction to this, Emily, because it's fresh. Kaido adding TikTok, I think, has opened the door for this thing that has been missing. And that is that the reason what you're talking about is accurate, the whole liquidity shift thing and porting this liquidity from here to there to here to there, seducing the Giga users to put your shit with me for 10 minutes until something else comes along. If you just talk to real human beings somewhere other than crypto Twitter, guess what? Your product might actually prove to have some sort of viability, and then users might show up and you might generate... No, unless it sucks, which is the nature of business. Then you go back and you fix it and you make it better, or you go out of business and
okay,
sorry. But that's what I'm saying. Like, those people come in and all of a sudden, if what you did is good and worth their time, all of a sudden new liquidity and new revenue can come in that didn't already exist locked in someone else's pool. And then the thing actually grows. That's kind of like the definition of adoption, which we just seem to straight up ignore every single time we do anything.
Okay, so I can't remember if I finished this thought or not because now I've been drinking. But what is interesting about all of this is, like I said, once the liquidity pool drained, the value's gone. But that's not all the value that's available, right? Like we started out by saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And that's the same thing in crypto that has not been captured yet, where the contents of my wallet and the types of transactions that I make and the direct relationships that I have, which you can incentivize somebody to spend and buy more of your token and like distribute it around, right? That's going to pump the price because you're going to squeeze it. And if you look at that data, it is absolutely fascinating, right? I know if this person only owns crypto because they're making sports bets on Bovada. I know if this person only participated in NFTs and that's where they entered. I know if they started in shitcoins, shifted to NFTs, went back to shitcoins, right? I know all of this. I know if they like female-led projects. I know if they like gambling protocols. I know if they like SocialFi. I know who their friends are. I know what they're doing. I know where they're spending money. I know if they're into DeFi. I know all of this. And all of this tells me a lot of interesting things, right? You can draw conclusions from these profiles. It's not simply, oh, this person likes women-led projects. It's that, oh, this person was active and injecting a lot of money into their wallet in this window and something was going on at this time. Is there something that we can replicate to reignite this wallet? How can we even reach back out to them to make it interesting? Because I think one of the more fascinating elements about most of the wallets that we have right now is they don't notify you if your balance changes positive, other than the effective value of currency going up. They never tell you if something lands in your wallet because there's no guardrails on that, right? Anything can go into your wallet. It's limited on what goes out.
Right.
So like, is there a way to notify these people or to recapture their attention or to like somehow break through this like very contained self-custody wall to re-engage them? And that value, if you can bring back somebody's attention in a way that doesn't drain a liquidity pool, you've really leveled up your protocol.
I want to go back to the TikTok thing specifically, though, because I don't think it's really that simple. I'm really curious to see. I had a conversation today, or participated in a conversation where Kaito held a space to talk about different people's perspective on the things they had been doing. And I got to hear a number of people who had used the protocol speak about the opportunities and challenges associated with being a creator or being a protocol who wants to use yapping to measure value. And I think on TikTok especially, you have a lot more variables than you do on X, where you're just trying to measure likes and shares and views. The impressions on TikTok are different, and measuring what gained the impression and how valuable it is in the long term is also very, very different. And the algorithm is opaque. It's not very transparent. Like, how do you quantify humor conveyed in a video? How do you quantify, emotional content? How do you measure a text slide video versus a 10-minute video? How do you tell if somebody's talking about crypto at all? I think about that Barra Baddies video they did on Mother's Day. They didn't say anything about blockchain, but they earned a lot of impressions. They earned a lot of social credit and created I think, net positive kind of sentiment, but they didn't say anything about protocols.
So here's the trick. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all if it was funny, if it was dull, if it was controversial, if people hated it, if they loved it. All that matters is that they saw it. That's it.
But how do you measure that they saw it?
Well,
by likes,
on TikTok.
By shares?
On TikTok by views, right? Like it tells you what matters.
But views
the most.
aren't all the same, because if I have a 10-minute video, it will get viewed by a certain amount of people just because I have followers. But if someone else has a 10-minute video that more people spent more time watching, you may not know that because their audience is smaller, even if the video was technically more engaging in terms of how much attention it got.
But I mean, Evan, too, don't forget that the way that we track views for monetization on TikTok varies greatly on the quality of the view, which TikTok has its own methods for determining, largely dependent on watch time, the point at which the video gets the like from you. If you watch it and you just like it immediately, they chalk that up to I love this creator, I'm supporting the creator, I'm going to like it, whatever they're talking about.
Yeah.
Or if they like it at a specific time, that time gets flagged. There's all these different ways that they like break that down. So a lot goes into qualifying the quality of the view. And when it comes to paying us, like I've had videos that were monetized because they were over a minute, the requirement. They got 58,000 views arbitrarily, and only, not enough of them were qualified because I lost people's retention very early on, right? So they didn't.
But my point is, all that's very opaque. You
Yeah.
can pull or scrape likes, you can pull or scrape shares, you can pull or scrape followers. There's a lot of data you can pull, but I just don't know that it's very valuable. And I don't know, coming back to like full circle, InfoFi, everybody's trying to talk about what makes it different, even though, as you say, Laudio is just another wrapper, and all of it is just another wrapper for what Emily said, which is blockchains make money when people make transactions. It really doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter what we call it. All I need to do is provide enough incentive to get enough people generating enough transactions to pay me back and inform my conviction so that the next time me and my 10 friends are in a room with $1 million more, we can come up with something that's going to sound like you're early and make us rich. I don't know.
And here's the other thing. If it just comes down to volume, like I think that's part of why ETH lost so much attention, because the more volume that occurs on ETH, the more expensive it gets. And people are like, well, I had 2 plays when I used to have 100. Now I'm out of money. Guess I'll go somewhere else. Right. But you're looking at a lot of these like side chains or like things like Solana. I don't want to say L2s because those ultimately roll up to ETH, even though that's like change, whatever. Okay. But these builders are going to go to the place that they can generate the most transactions, especially if they're running a node. And in order to support that, high volume of transactions, what types of things can you build to generate high volume transactions? And how can you get additional wallets or addresses? I'm not even going to say people, but it's addresses. We don't care if it's a bot or not, as long as they're making transactions. That's what we care about, right? So what can you do to make these things happen? And is it, something like a game where it's like tracking all of the individual scores or the little spends or like the bullets that are cast out? Or is it something like social media and likes and views and tracking those things? Is it just the news, right? Where it's like, oh, put all this content on there.
Sure.
You're going to write it. You're going to pay the fee, whatever it is. I think there are a lot of use cases that have been kind of abandoned though. And I think like anyone who's built software understands like how if your service suddenly is getting a lot of use, your AWS or your Azure bill is going to balloon and all of a sudden you're going to get slapped with $25,000. And you're like, oh my God, what is happening? But on blockchain, you only pay once, and you can't put as much data into a single transaction, but you will only pay rent one single time. And that is important, I think, for people who don't necessarily know if their app is going to live or die, right? Like at least it's still around, you still have to like host your front end or whatever. But like for the most part, it creates more opportunity for innovation. And what is the environment that can happen in that's generating a tremendous amount of transactions from bots, from people who cares, right? So it's like, I think that does lend itself back to things like what an AI might do, right? And how they might use this knowledge and how do they like prevent things from getting corrupted. I don't know. There's like a lot going on, but yeah,
there's a lot going on. I kind of would like to return though. Just we've talked pretty like deeply, I think, and I worry that we've lost folks when in.
Oh no.
In the I don't think I don't. It's hard to take everyone with you on a trip like this.
Yeah.
And I think it might be helpful just to say all of this conversation is oriented around helping you understand like the trends that exist, the way things are, because like if you're just here because you want to speculate and make money, then understanding that this is like a wrapper that has, what did you say, Ponzinomics, you can get very good at spotting that, and you can get very good at paying attention to mindshare metrics and paying attention to transaction volume and other kinds of things that will help you spot something early, even if it's fluff that might make you wealthier tomorrow based on how much attention people are paying to it and how much they're using it. And conversely, I think it will help you be well equipped to spot trends that like are actually meaningful. Because at the end of this grant talk, you know, InfoFi, whatever, Laudio, like on one hand, there are Ponzinomic products. And then on the other hand, there are probably products that if invested in, could attract real users, could find product market fit. And Alex, you didn't say this explicitly, but I feel like this is a good time maybe to talk to our friends about this and create some content about the fact that we think there's a huge need for this. One of the things that we're building right now, Emily, is we're trying to build a new community platform because frankly, Discord, we all use it, kind of sucks. And one of the things we want to do on this platform is we talk to a lot of grant issuers who are like, oh my God, I spend a lot of money, I get nothing for it. And also a lot of people on the other end, like our friend Jay Heat, or like you tonight, who are like, you know, these grants, do they really exist? Or are they actually funding meaningful work, or do they just want to generate transactions? So we've talked to a lot of folks around, and we think there's enough interest to run like a white glove accelerator kind of thing, where if you're Aptos or Polygon or Stellar or someone like that, and you want, you know, it's in your business's interest to give away money, to attract people, to build cool stuff, you know, to generate money or attention or whatever, then you want the most qualified people. And you may not have the team, you may not have the time, you may work at a blockchain but not fundamentally understand it. Fortunately, we do, and we've got a lot of mind share, and we've got a lot of people on the other end of the conversation who are building things, or who are interested in building things, or who would be users of a thing. And why not put them all in a room together and bring our intelligent friends to speak to them? And just like a great hackathon sponsored by 3 or 4 different companies where the developers are on site to help you understand the protocol you're building on, the people who are issuing the grants can talk to you about the kinds of things they're interested in, the way their chain works. You can get some perspective from past investors in, you know, successful by whatever metric projects. And then hopefully match these people giving real money to more qualified recipients so that all the users waiting for a product will find something that they will invest in and use and value.
Well, and like we talked about the vampiric, parasitic nature of lots of grants programs, people burn out all the time. You're not ready to like hang in. You have an idea and you burn out. You know, that a lot of grants lose steam because of that. Someone burns out and the thing dies. You know, you can save a tremendous amount of money for sure. You can save venture capitalists and early stage investors and seed rounds money by making the targets better and making them more likely to succeed, because the fail rate is astronomical. Let's be real, right? And then you can save the ecosystem's money because someone at least had to get a little bit of prep training, you know, like, okay, we're going through pitch deck preparation, we're doing presentation, we're doing public speaking, we're doing business shaping, we're talking about, I've seen this idea fail 9,000 times, you got to do something different, we got to add a different thing of this, the different thing of that. You get to talk to these ecosystems before even coming up with the full idea. Like, I've the semblance of an idea, but I'm not quite there yet. It's just tighten the process before the application goes in, save the amount of money going out, set somebody up to be a better target for venture capital if they want to raise afterwards. Ecosystem has to spend less, VC gets a higher return. Like, it's win-win.
And a better target for people to spend money. Like, if you're going to build a product, before you actually build the product, like, you should probably get some feedback from who you think your target audience is, and maybe a couple of other user profiles too, you know?
I have like the craziest idea. What if your product actually did something?
What if it did something? Oh
no,
my
What if your
gosh.
product like just actually performed a service that people need? Like, what if you built a product for a problem you didn't invent yourself?
No.
Because that is like the trademark of a lot of these people launching these gigantic protocols and doing like an airdrop. I don't know what is going on. It's so crazy.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Doesn't run. No.
I frequently joke where I'm like, man, I'd be so successful if I could like grow a dick or get a lobotomy.
You know what's funny is that back in the main like NFT craze of 2021, I vividly remember Mac. We were like sitting here trying to come up with like what else could enhance the way that you can use this token to do something else, and then we were just getting lapped by project after project that was basically just like straight lying to you about how much APY they were going to have in 3 years, and Mac was like, we are not stupid enough to design a successful project. And
Maybe.
All you really have to be is very bad at math.
Well, because at the same
Very
time,
confident.
Evan, I'm sure you remember. I'm going to give you a
man.
flashback. We were getting lapped by this project that was advertising this like delta neutral APY yield farming trading strategy wherein you could earn 88% APY naturally through this. And they just every buzzword you can think of, flywheel this and, you know, all this whatever.
Metaverse
and everyone's
that.
just like, "Oh my god." Yeah, exactly. And also
that literally sounds like one of those like pig slaughtering scams you come across on Reddit. Like what?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Or
No, but guess
pig
what?
butchering? Is that
Pig
pig
butchering.
Yeah.
Yeah, butchering.
Yeah.
They,
But we knew what you meant.
they made a
You know
tremendous
what?
amount
Yeah.
of money. And then they went completely belly up because it turned out it was all bullshit. But you know what? Who cares? Because they made a
They
shitload of...
lied? Who saw that coming? Okay, so before I forget, someone in the chat, one called me cute and smart. Thanks. But somebody else asked, somebody else was like, how do you recognize Ponzinomics? And we were talking about this. And like, listen, I read these like token papers or like light papers, wherever they are, and like laugh my ass off. So like, let's talk about what you could find in a token paper that's going to tell you how close of attention you need to pay if you're going to engage in this
Love
token.
it.
Like it is like a, you know, make 20% and bounce type of thing. Like they are happening so fast. So like I saw one recently that was releasing something like 30% of the token supply on launch and 5% for liquidity. And that is a really good way to get a lot more of the token into the liquidity pool. But the only way that you're going to get all of that token in the liquidity pool is because people are going to take your money, right? Like you put money into the liquidity pool, they're all going to cash out because it's going to help support the value of the token. Everybody is going to take their bags and run. And that's because there's not enough liquidity in there. So like if you're really looking for a shitcoin to pump, you want something like a 10-to-1 market cap to liquidity pool ratio, all the way down to like 7%, but 5%, like whatever you've got in your wallet is unachievable. You will not be able to sell and capture that even at a small amount because it's going to collapse very fast once that like enough red candles, it's going to zero. But like a lot of what you'll see in a lot of these token pools is just people not being able to like think past the first order. They're like, of course people will keep putting money in. And that's where the Ponzinomics comes in, right? Where it's like, well, if everybody keeps putting money in, sure, the value will go up. Or if everybody keeps participating, eventually people will get convinced enough that they should put value into like whatever, right? But like ultimately, if there is nothing behind that, if there's no reason behind it other than I'm going to try to cash out before you, be very wary of participating. And like, it took me a long time to learn that because like, I don't know, I've got like an 8-year-old kid. I've got like dogs. I like have a life. I run many companies, right? But like I'll like want to gamble. I'll like want to play my coins. And like, honest to God, the reason I got into crypto is because like Vegas was closed during the pandemic. Like, let's not talk about that. But like I want to play it and I'll like buy something and then I'll like walk away and go cook dinner and come back and the coin is at like 0 and I'm like, oh fuck, what happened? But like literally the same thing happens in these protocols where people will like compulsively dedicate their time to this thing and you're getting those like adrenaline hits, that like dopamine hit, the same way that you get as you're like scrolling something because you're like, oh, I'm earning points, hell yeah, right? Like just like click, keep tapping, right? And that's like, one, what you're doing is you're creating the numbers for them to turn back to the VC that gave them money for them to say, look how many participants I have in this protocol, right? And like a crypto user is valued much more highly than a traditional Web 2 user. If you take something like the raise that, oh God, DWR's thing that I never use because I hate it. What's it called?
Talking about Farcaster.
Yes, I am. Farcaster. Farcaster's users individually were rated or were valued at like $1,500 a piece, which is nuts. Because for a normal, that's nuts.
Well,
because
for context, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, like a normal Web 2 app, I think averages something like $6 a user, and that's even if they're paying $100 a year for like the product. It's crazy.
And depending on the style, it's even less. For example, like when you're pitching to game funding specifically, the like average like annual consumer spend in your average mobile game is rated something like 46 cents, like on average. And yet in crypto land, the average rate like per spend from some gaming users is like upwards of $400 a person, depending on the game. And so the contrast there is absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, even like on the smaller scale, the Syndicate games had an average consumer spend of like $867. But the average spend per user in Clash of Clans, which does over $1 billion in revenue every single year, is like 66 cents. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is so crazy. And like, I think what it comes down to, honestly, is there's a couple people who are going to spend big dollars, but there's a bunch of people who are going to like milk it for nothing.
Definitely.
And like, okay, so one of my many side quests, because like, you know, ADHD
You have a few.
is like downloading these paid games that you can play. And like for a while there, I was getting advertisements nonstop for like the solitaire game on TikTok. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to download this because I want to see what's going on. And they have like such a good model. And I am obsessed with it. And I cannot believe that somebody has not adopted this for crypto yet, because it would be so good. So basically, like if you haven't downloaded one of these crazy solitaire games, they'll give you like a free spin or like free credits every day, and you can like use those credits to play in the free games. And if you win enough points in the free games, then you can use those points to enter a very low dollar amount game. And if you've ever gambled online, it's very similar, where they'll give you like a bonus for a deposit bonus, right? Like if you deposit $100, they'll actually give you $300. But there's this concept of playthrough where you have like a 10x or a 20x playthrough. So if they give you $200 for free, you actually can't withdraw any money until you've spent something like $4,000 in playthrough. And it's the same thing in these solitaire games, right? So it's like they'll give you the free thing, but you have to play and maintain your money that they gave you for a very long time before you actually reach the ability to withdraw money. And then they say something like, oh, you know, you can enter this game for $3 and then you can win $20, right? And like what they do is they let like 10 people or something join that game. So they're actually collecting $30, and then the top 3 people share $20. They pocket 10. The top person gets like 12, and then it gets like 4, and then it gets like, I don't know what the fuck's left. I don't know, 3, whatever. My math was wrong, but that's like effectively how these things work. And what they're doing is they're putting you head to head, and it's very much like playing poker at a table, not poker against your peers in a casino, where they're still pocketing a share of the money, right? They're facilitating the game, but they're always going to like pocket something from the play. But like you still get to play and win. Yeah, exactly. So like this model, for whatever reason, is not prevalent in crypto, but like these people would eat that up. They would not stop playing that game, and that game would make so much money.
I think it is prevalent in crypto. I think it's prevalent in, honestly, the place I see it the most is when it's used like illegally in pig butchering schemes. Of course, there's no winner. All the money is gone as soon as you invest the first dollar, but that's the way they set it up. And I kind of think that we're going to start to see more of those. I would be interested to ask Casey. That was one of the ideas that I shared with our friend Casey Craig. She's a founder of Euphoria-Fi, and I don't know if you've seen Euphoria, but it's like a hyper casual trading game where you have a little graph, and it's the 1 second chart, and the little ETH price line just kind of squiggles along as it does on the 1 second chart, and you click to place little bets in whatever increments you want in little squares.
So deranged.
And if it hits your bet, you win. And if it misses your bet, you lose. And when it hits your bet, it sprinkles confetti. And that's it. It is so simple. And honestly, it's genius. And she's like, so what can we do to incentivize people to play? I was like, well, you know, you could do free play, free spins, play to win a prize, but they got to keep paying to play to win a bigger prize. I mean, like you can make it degenerate. Are you pulling up a screen share? Because they just released
I love
the very
it.
first
I love
video
it.
footage of it.
It's so degen. I love
it and hate it at the same time. I love it because it's Casey, and I think the idea is absolutely brilliant. But I hate it because it's the treadmill that makes you fatter. You know what I mean? And maybe
there was this
maybe
one.
poorer.
So like the first job I had in crypto was for Gumrocket. But like one of our partnerships was for this game. Didn't you know? Have you seen my stickers?
Oh my God!
I've got a handful of these. If you ever run into me at an event, if I start showing my face again, I will give you one of these, very limited edition. Do you see?
Wow!
Right, it's good stuff. NSFW, but really good stuff. Okay, so we had partnered with this game that was like this wheel spin, and it was like a dial, and it just like went in loops, and as it was like going in loops, the pot would go up and up and up, and you could cash out before, and you could like take whatever gain was there. But if it timed out before you cashed out, you lost everything you put into it. So it's like a multiplier. But like most of the time it happened under 6 seconds. So like you really like it was hard to click it that fast. It was very, very, very hard. But like there were people who would win like 1,000x on it, but they were just raking it in. Like we had checked their contract once, and eventually we found out that it was like really bad for the token because they're collecting in your token, and then like once a week or once a month they were dumping your token to like convert it into BNB. But like it was a huge red candle on the chart because all of a sudden they took their bags that they earned from this coin and like nerfed the chart. We're like, oh god, this is like really bad. And like I guess the assumption had been that they would like ease out of the coin, right? They would like kind of sell it on the hour or something like over the course of time or like as they made it, but they literally just dumped it. We're like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Like a brilliant Ponzinomics. And like when we say Ponzinomics, we mean people just keep putting money into it so people can keep getting paid. But like, oh my God, it was toxic for a chart.
So a couple of things. I pulled up just a quick list from past posts of things to look for if you want to avoid Ponzinomics, because you don't want to invest in something that's just going to crash. Maybe you're a long-term value investor. You're new to the space. But first I wanted to highlight this comment from Robert Steckler. He said, my kids are all about waiting at the Pokemon kiosk at midnight. And I remember going to movie releases, book launches. That's the other kind of thing I feel like is missing from a lot of these apps in a substantive way is the like true social and ritual experience of like doing something fun or meaningful with others online. And you could do that and generate transactions or activity or have users.
Oh. Well, and that's accidentally drum roll.
Was that on purpose?
No, but it worked out great. I hope you felt the suspense.
I was like, what, am I supposed to do a trick? Like, what?
I vividly remember standing in line at GameStop for like the midnight release of the original Black Ops, and back when you had to buy the disc, and just I mean you're talking to so many people. You're building like a play group of people standing in line because you're all out there 6 hours ahead of time trying to get your place in line at the local shitty GameStop in your college town, doing that kind of thing. But if you strip it all back too, I think that needs to make a comeback. That's the other end of the pendular swing away from where you are right now, is like enhancing the human connection. It's the natural answer to the resurgence of AI.
Wall Street said Pokemon
resurgence, not resurgence. Sorry.
Could you imagine if we had? Go ahead. Would you skip?
I skipped school in 5th grade to see Star Wars Episode 1. My dad took me and my brother for like opening day.
Points for Dad.
Brilliant.
That's fantastic. Somebody mentioned Pokemon Go, Wall Street said in the comments, and I think people have said this is not a novel idea, and there are a lot of problems with bringing that kind of thing at scale on chain. You need the great intellectual property. But I mean, even if you just had a prop intellectual property, and there was a collectible game that was a social graph, but it had all the benefits of blockchain at the right places. You could be anonymous. You could preserve your privacy. You could choose to monetize your data about where you had been, what you had done. You could trade things with friends. Some of the little monsters would be gold colored and they'd be hyper rare, and you could sell them in the marketplace or whatever. I mean, RuneScape, Alex, you talk about all the time. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, and the pendulum is swinging.
Well, Emily, for context, this morning we realized as we were talking, we were realizing about, like what would happen if certain things got tokenized after the fact now, and you were able to like cash in on something.
Yeah, they're paired with a liquidity pool.
And it was like, if the day ever comes where Jagex tokenizes RuneScape Gold, like, hey, yachts on me, guys, because I'm a billionaire.
I will take your yacht. You want to see something great? Hang on,
yes.
Look at this. My kid keeps trying to take these from me.
That's always a good setup. What my kid is actively trying to steal from me right now.
I've got my original Japanese speaking Furbies. They don't speak English. You must speak in Japanese to them. And
No
like
way.
they used to like wake up in the middle of the night. They scared the shit out of me. I was fucking terrified. But I think it would be really funny to like program one with like an LLM or something, like put like an AI inside of Furby.
Yes.
And like I think I could do it with enough AI credits. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
like
I
a little
could.
Bluetooth.
Yeah,
That's
That would be
incredible.
she's
such-
like,
that would be
because I
such a
guess they
fun
like
idea.
re-release them. I don't know, but like she's like, well, why don't you buy me one? And I'm like, dude, I like leave my original Japanese Furbies alone. I'm sure I will eventually sell them on eBay for wild sums of money. That's not true,
incredible.
but
That is so
they're
cool.
nostalgic.
What a girl can dream. Wall Street said we could do the Rise Up Go scavenger hunt, and I'm gonna say yes, Wall Street. Yes, we could.
This isn't as cool as a Furby, but I do have this.
Something
I
your
keep
kid
it in,
keeps trying to
keep it in
steal
my
from you.
desk. It's
Ooh.
this is the original like Game Boy Advance copy of Golden Sun, which is my favorite video game of all time.
I have.
I don't know. Game
I've
Boy
got
Advance.
Pogs.
That's
I've
not
got
that
Pogs
OG.
somewhere.
I'm ready for like the Game Boy, not even Game Boy Color. I need to
I'm
see like
telling you, dude.
some bona fides.
I'm
man.
telling you, this game is amazing. Someone vouch for me. Golden
believe
Sun
it's
is
cool.
incredible.
Okay.
Oh, before we get too far though, we were talking about like anonymous transactions, whatever, and I'd actually like talked to my co-founder for a while. Oh, say hi to Hansel. I'd actually talked to my co-founder for a while about could we make an exchange that actually secured liquidity so it couldn't be hacked, leveraging our patent, while also completely anonymizing transactions? And the answer is yes. We built a proof of concept, which is like a crazy, I don't know, like depending on how much people were listening to that's like a crazy thing to do on blockchain. But I don't know, we might build that for funsies.
Yeah. So the network's open, and I mean,
Yeah.
how do you build an exchange on top of it? I mean, how is that different from like, I don't know, Uniswap?
Because it's anonymous.
Okay, but how
So we would
do you
like
maintain anonymity? Is like
Right,
the
okay.
username. That's what I want to know. How is it done?
So we would abstract it through like our foolproof tokens, right? So you would effectively like stake your foolproof token of whatever product you're trying to buy, and they would go into like a larger pool, and then they would get like masked. So your liquidity is still available, and liquidity is like a huge reason to target somebody, right? Because it's like a good place to store your money. You want your money to go to work, but we can like anonymize that so you wouldn't be such a target, and then also anonymize the exchange ultimately in the same like strategy.
But how does the pool or the contract that facilitates it know? Is it like a mixer?
No, it's not a mixer. It's basically just like a multi-layered staking protocol. So like we have our foolproof token, right, which is effectively like a dog on a leash or like a shadow.
Okay.
So like you own the real product, and then you could get like let's say I own real ETH, right, but I want to put my token in liquidity pool so it can like earn money. So I put my like USDC and my ETH into liquidity pool. But what the liquidity pool would issue isn't an NFT like it normally does. It would issue a foolproof token representing the NFT, and it would know, the protocol itself would know where it came from, but it wouldn't directly link the foolproof token to me itself.
How would it know
right,
where
to
it
my
came
wallet.
from? Or how would it retrieve where it came from? Like, where is it storing that information that it's able to retrieve it and also maintain the privacy? Like,
Yeah, you just you abstract it. You like there would
Okay,
definitely
but,
be
like,
there's an Oracle layer in between is what it comes down to. So like you would put an Oracle layer in between the two. So it's like what I deposit becomes an Oracle that like feeds the information into like the distribution of our foolproof tokens.
right? And who facilitates like the Oracle? Like,
I mean, we would, because it's like our product. So
but would it be localized? I mean, because here's what I'm thinking of. That sounds like
it can't.
a ledger. But the reason a ledger works is because Ledger, when it generates a private key, it does it at the device level. The algorithm that it's using to generate private keys is the Bitcoin algorithm or the whatever.
Right.
It's
So,
the
like,
Ethereum
it's-
protocol, but it's happening
like,
at the device
yeah.
level, local to me. That's why it's private. But I'm curious, if you are facilitating, you're presumably coding the Oracle or the smart contract or whatever.
not
but
me.
like,
But yeah.
you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand it because I feel like somewhere, some way, somebody's got to put that in a database, and I've got to trust them.
you do have to put it in a database. You do have to trust them. So it's like, what's the value of your anonymity at that point? So like, there's ways to do it, but it like creates a lot of risk and like, I don't know. Like we're still poking around on it. We're trying to like come up with the best version of it, but it would be pretty cool if you could like instead of and then what it comes down to is like instead of trading your actual tokens, which would like affect the price, you can trade your liquidity in the tokens. Where it's like I want to buy this liquidity position. I don't necessarily want to buy this. Or like I just want a liquidity position anyway, so I'll just directly buy a liquidity position instead of buying the token off the chart. So like the chart stays protected and the liquidity stays protected, but you can still get your exposure and someone can still exit their exposure if you want to. So it's like something we're working on the side, but it's definitely an interesting thing. And the end of the school year is a nightmare. So it's like hard to get these things together.
Okay, I really do want to very quickly read some of these things because it is a very good question that you brought up, Emily. How do you tell when something is just a Ponzi white paper? No, we've had a really good conversation around this, but some of the things, and add to the list, but here are just a couple that I've seen from different places. The first one is if you've got like really high or uncapped staking or yield, you are probably going to see from any of these Ponzinomics projects a white paper that says something like stake to earn more token, so you can stake more token, and maybe they have like a referring bonus too. So tell your friends to stake their tokens and you'll earn more. A lot of the time, go ahead.
That's like literally how Raydium gained a lot of its initial liquidity. And like if you ever read the Raydium light paper or whatever, like, and Raydium is like the big liquidity protocol on, or like AMM on Solana, but like the Raydium token is it's an interesting one. Like it's gone, like you're not incentivized to hold it, but
there are a lot of tokens that are distributed that way or like earned that way.
Well, and I think it's interesting to talk about specific instances of that too, Emily, if you have any like top of mind that would be like good to contrast with each other, just because when we hear the tokenomics conversation on TikTok, it's generally extremely watered down, and I really only ever see 2 or 3 things get looked at, and it's largely just total supply, circulating supply, fully diluted valuation, call it that. Maybe we get into an inflation rate if that's a thing, but like nothing about incentive structure, exactly what you're talking about with Raydium. You're like, why is Raydium different than Jupiter, different than Uni, or whatever?
Okay, so like Raydium in particular, right? So Raydium's an AMM on Solana, and that means they need liquidity pools to make these transactions really easy for tokens, right? And it's going to have an impact on the price. Okay, so Raydium has pairs that they want to extra incentivize you to provide liquidity for. So it's mostly stablecoin pairs, but sometimes it's like very popular shitcoin pairs. But largely it's like Solana USDC, or it's like Raydium USDC, or it's like Raydium Solana, like those core pairs that they're trying to support. So if you're in one of those pairs, you'll get your APY plus a distribution of Raydium. And that distribution of Raydium is bought with the fees made as people use those pools. So they're going to go through the pool, and Raydium is going to collect a fee on your transaction. It's normally like, 1% if it's a shitcoin, or like 0.05% if it's like a stable coin. Okay. So they're going to charge that fee on the transaction, and then they're going to take that fee in the token. It's probably like USDC or Solana, and they're going to use it to buy Raydium, and then they're going to distribute the Raydium token to you, and then you're very likely to go and swap Raydium for Solana or USDC and then compound it into the pool that you're in. But like this means that like there is effectively Raydium in there, and like I think they're making money, but like there's nothing behind that that's ever going to make the token actually rise, because there's constant downward pressure on it, and they're countering it with their own buybacks of the token of constant downward pressure. So it doesn't necessarily make sense as like a rewards token, but when they first launched, they were giving it out like crazy, which was like kind of fun. And you could get into these protocols where they were like, or like these tokens where they were like letting anybody in, and they would start this like burn down rate, and like the token would start at something like 300,000% APY, and it would just balloon like nuts. And if the token started pumping because people were buying it to make the liquidity pair, it would go crazy. But like you can see how that's like very much a game of chicken, right? Who's the first to sell? How much money are you going to make on this before everybody runs out of there? So like Radium's, it had like a pump a while ago, and somebody was tweeting
like
about it.
400%. The last big pump I saw
big.
off of them. It was huge.
Yeah, but I mean, 400% sounds like a big number, but it's actually like a 4x, right? So it's like we're playing crypto, like we're going for 1,000 X's here. But like
for a protocol of that size, it's pretty significant, I would say.
Right. And I think like somebody thought they were like outsmarting the system, but ultimately the downward pressure created just by this mechanic forced the price back down again, just because that's how it's set up to operate. So I think it's meant to be something like a stable coin that represents the volume going on in the AMM. And they never say that explicitly, but like I guess you can use it to like, diversify your portfolio, but like it's not a moonshot, right?
Yeah, it's bootstrap with Ponzinomics.
It is, yeah. It is like by definition Ponzinomics, where it's like you're going to put this in, we're going to take the money, we're going to buy it back, right? And it's like it's a little more decentralized, but like that is ultimately it. As long as money's going in, you're going to get the money back.
That's another big indicator of like a Ponzinomics project, and it doesn't mean as Raydium shows you that it can't be successful for somebody who's speculating on it, that it can't be successful as a protocol widely used generating transactions, but early burns and buybacks are like other kinds of things I see a lot in Ponzinomics projects, is like how can they distribute the tokens to the people who get there first, and then what can they do to get them back, make them more scarce, or make them like harder to get for people who come later. Still seemingly like available, but you gotta work harder.
Yeah,
well, I mean, too, I would say that just because this is more topical as well, whenever you see anyone who is very exclusively focused on like the launch of the token, it's like exactly what you're describing, Emily. The incentive there is like get involved fast to get something. When you get the thing, you're going to want to dump it because it's never going to be as expensive as it is right now ever again, because inflation will take care of the rest of that. And to your point, it's interesting to look at Raydium as an example, because does anyone have any guesses what their annualized revenue is as a platform?
No, but
I'm sure you looked it up.
I
bet it's significant. In terms of, I would say, I don't know.
It's not obscene, but it's significant.
No, I'm going to say $30 million.
What? Okay. No, I was going like 800 to 1.2 bill.
No.
Dude, do you know how much Uniswap makes?
Yeah, but do you know how much Pump.Fun makes?
So they also...
Raydium AMM specifically.
Oh, a month or a year?
Annualized.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I would go higher. I would say 300.
It's been as high as. Let's see.
Spit it out.
Well, so
I want to give myself a point.
Annualized as of right now is 60 million.
I was closer with 30. Shoot.
But it's been as high as What the fuck? Show me the full goddamn chart, llama.
Somebody says 75 million from Steve.eth, so maybe he
61.
knows.
So this is Raydium AMM, and then you could add that to Raydium, the exchange, which does another 150 million.
Yeah, I was thinking the whole thing.
But they do generate over $500 million in fees every year, of which about 150 million of that is
giving us all a point.
Is revenue.
It's even. Yeah, it's, I don't know, like that stuff is crazy. Like people aren't messing around when they say sell the shovels.
Uniswap, because you mentioned that one and I don't know that one off the top of my head.
Uniswap makes a shit ton of money.
Yeah, Uniswap makes a lot of money. They make billions of dollars.
Good Lord.
For sure. In revenue and fees. The fees are significant. What are the numbers across chain? Do you have all the 16 chains or whatever they support, Alex?
Okay, hold on. This is just the protocol across the 3, or I guess 4 versions, because we're on Uniswap v4 now.
Yeah.
Most is still in v3.
Sure.
That makes sense. V4 is hard to use.
Billion. Yeah, so fees annualized just on v3 is just under $1 billion.
Yeah.
But people still put, like, I think Fartcoin's biggest liquidity pool is on Uniswap v2, which like me and one of my friends just could not figure out.
Yeah. No, V2 is $458 million a year of annualized fees.
That's it. 58 mil? Yeah.
Is that just for a couple of chains, or is that across all chains?
It doesn't tell me. Hold on. Yeah, I want the whole thing.
I would be willing to bet that that's just a couple of chains, maybe even just ETH, because I feel like they're making hundreds of millions on base?
No, I'm pretty sure the last time I checked Uniswap numbers, they make like $6 billion a year.
Yeah,
That sounds about right to me.
This is very siloed. These are very siloed numbers. Is like they're all in different. Hold on, I'll figure this out. Llama.
Robert
I'm gonna
Steckler
figure
says,
this out.
"Ugh, should have stayed a farmer." Sorry about it, Robert.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, so they make $3 million a day.
Yeah.
that sounds right.
Yeah.
Whew.
So about $1 billion a year.
Yeah.
Really quick.
Chump change.
I did want to say that you could contrast something like Raydium. I know they're very different protocols, but just like to the layperson looking at tokenomics models, one that I think is pretty strong is Morpho. I'd be curious to know what you think about it, Emily, but I think that they do
I don't
a
know
much
anything
better
about
job.
it.
Okay, so Morpho's token, it's really a governance token. It's a lending protocol. And it's been gaining a lot of mind share and also a lot of transaction volume and liquidity. It started on Base. It's the leading lending protocol on Base.
It started on ETH, went to Base.
Oh, thank you.
Morpho Blue
but it's been
originally
around for a
launched on
while.
ETH like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's been around for a while, but it's gotten a lot of traction lately, especially with the rise of Base.
They took big
And-
mind share when they moved to Base, and they did a tremendous amount of volume over there. And now everybody and their grandmother is launching stuff with Morpho.
Yeah, they're pretty capital efficient. They don't really rely on high inflation or emissions to attract users. Their emissions are pretty minimal. Their liquidity incentives are not token based, and they're much more focused on like lending efficiency and protocol composability. They have attracted a lot of like curators that have done just really fantastic work, and they've got a lot of different assets across a lot of different ecosystems. Coinbase chooses them to figure out all the smart contract work for their CBBTC.
Okay.
And they do like sprinkle some extra incentives to attract liquidity, but the incentives are set by the vault creators, not by Morpho itself. So some vaults are sponsored by partners, Gauntlet
Quite
or
a few. Spark's got a
Gearbox.
huge
Yeah.
USDC lending vault. Yeah.
Totally. And then they might pay the bonus APY in a different token, not just Morpho token, but Morpho DAO, it doesn't emit Morpho tokens for lending incentives like Compound or like Aave. So it's market driven, not just like everybody come and get this sweet yield. Less Ponzinomic, but I like it a lot. And it's still appealing because people use it and it grows and it does more transactions over time.
You know what else was appealing and grew and did more transactions over time?
I don't know. Tell me.
Oh.
Toys R Us
Name of
until
Ponzi scheme here.
1999.
Oh my god, that was dude. My kid's bed, her like crib was a Toys R Us from like Babies R Us or whatever, because they used to make furniture, and then like we like didn't buy the toddler bed conversion kit, and then they announced they're going bankrupt, and then we did not get to convert her like nice bed frame, because it's like decent furniture, into like a toddler. I had to like buy a whole ass new bed. I was mad as shit. Anyways, yeah, so that sounds, I mean, not exactly like it, but it sounds a whole lot like Ohm. Do you guys remember Ohm?
Ohm,
Yes.
like the original Ohm, the
Like Olympus DAO?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was like a bad deal.
That was not a bad deal. That was a great deal. It was just overvalued is what happened. It's like, that's like a really fascinating one. Where like, I guess like I'll try to give the short version of it.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Remind me.
Okay, so the short version of it
'Cause I
is
thought
that
it was Ponzi.
it was Ponzi. It was like border flywheel Ponzi. So basically you could buy the token itself, and you could stake it, or you could buy a bond for the token where it would age over time, based on like the balance of their treasury, and then it would take like a week or something to mature, and then you would get the full amount. So you would have this like lock on the vault itself, or like on the treasury itself, to prevent a bank run, basically. So like the other thing that you could do if you had enough Ohm is you could issue your own bonds, right? So I could go in there and I could say, I'm going to issue a bond that's going to mature in 7 days or 10 days or whatever it is. And somebody can buy your Ohm at a discount, and you issued the bond, and you could make the difference in the return that you would make from Ohm over that window. But because it had this like decentralized mechanic that wasn't necessarily staking, but it allowed you to operate as like a neo operator of Ohm, then you were able to create a lot of these bonds and sell them to people who wanted to get into the protocol and then stake the coin to like earn more from the coin's protocol itself, from like people making transactions. And I forget exactly what they were doing, honestly, because I was just like doing the whatever, but like it had this decentralized neobank mechanic that I found super interesting. And like one of the biggest problems, it almost like predates liquid staking. Actually, it might have come after liquid staking, but like beyond the popularity of it, right? Where like you're able to create these these mechanics where people can like put all of their token in it, and then you can put it into a liquidity pool and you can earn off of it, and then you can give them the liquid staked token, which is just like a receipt that represents that, but it's still tradable and spendable. So it is inflationary, but most people don't consider the inflation mechanics of the liquid stake token. So they're like not considering how much money is in there. And like that's what happens with Lido, right? And like Lido is a protocol on ETH that allows you to operate as like a validator node without actually having to run the software yourself. You can just like put a bunch of money into Lido and they'll pay you the average returns that you might get, which what the fuck was that, like an Elvis hat? That you get from validating transactions on ETH, right? But they give you a liquid stake token. So it's like you've locked up your money in here and they give you liquid staked ETH. They give you Steth. And then you can use that to spend like normal ETH, but you can't cash out your ETH without your Steth, right? So you can just like take it and do whatever immediately, or you can like leverage it, or whatever you want. But you can't you can't necessarily take it out because that would create a run on the validator node. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like we're just seeing the same thing over and over again. Something else that I saw recently that I thought was like interesting was coming back was the concept of reflections. And I don't know if you guys were around for reflections, but it's basically like every time a token moves from one wallet to another or is like bought or sold, some amount of that is pulled out in a tax and distributed however that tax strategy does it. And like it used to like distribute it to holders, and then it would put it into like a marketing wallet, then it might put it in a liquidity pool. But like that concept has come back with a different label. Oh, you have a dragon helmet? That's fun.
For everybody in podcast land, you got to come to the TikTok recording to see the gifts. Solemn is on fire.
I do love it when the podcast just gets a quick, like, middle of the sentence break. Like, was that an Elvis hat? With no context whatsoever. Right back on.
Sorry. I'm not good with just an audio audience. I'll do better.
No, it's a lot to keep track of, but honestly, it's funny. And I think at this point, the podcast people, we love you, podcast people, probably enjoy the fact that every now and then there's just this random, completely errant firing of some nonsense that just...
They enjoy it, or somebody is strapping them to a chair and forcing them to listen because surely no one would subject themselves to this chaos.
You shouldn't have said we were drinking. That was your fault.
Hey,
not
we're
mine.
all drinking here.
And then I like open a beer and you're like, it's water. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Usually we've got a little
I
cocktail.
lose.
Okay, but you're saying about the reflexivity. I still think that's kind of... Are you saying that's not a Ponzi? Because I think that's a Ponzi, and I think maybe Ohm is more sober now.
It's absolutely a Ponzi.
But it's
absolutely
super Ponzi.
The more coins you have, the more you earn in the reflections. And we're seeing a lot of this come back, right? But like the thing is like this was ahead of its time in a way, right? Because I think something that I've at least observed a lot recently with these protocols where it's like you'll see these like huge whales come in and like game a system so hard. Oh my God, whoever Creative Access is, please ask more questions. If it's over your head, I'll try to go back. But like you see people gaming these things so hard, and then people get really salty because like a whale comes in and they make a ton of money off an airdrop. But like the problem is these protocols can't survive, or these mechanics can't survive without the whales. Like you have to understand.
Or new buyers.
Well, you need the new buyers, right? But if it's something that's like a long game, right? Like, I don't know, we use like Friendtech as an example because Friendtech felt like a very, very long game. You would get these like whales in there that would just like put a ton of money into these tokens or these like keys, right? and people would like buy their own keys and they were like changing rules, or it's like, oh, you can't buy your own key because that's bad for the thing. It's like, right, they like found the back door immediately. But like without having the whale attention, other people don't value it. And that comes back to memetics, right? Where it's like, if someone doesn't tell you it's valuable, you don't know that it's valuable. And if a rich person says it's valuable, I want to be like the rich person. So I'm going to go put a bunch more money in here.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who moves a lot of liquidity, and I have suggested that he does the James Wynn thing and create an alt account that nobody knows and protects his privacy and stack it up and just create a narrative for himself around being this whale and become a figure that crypto Twitter like loves to hunt for, loves to hate, loves to root for, whatever. Like there's money to be made there. There's some risk probably, but it's kind of a vital role if you can play it. Not many people can.
RIP to my tweet that said James Wynn might have made it if he had a chin to catch him on the way down. That one died, and I was like, that deserved to live. I can't believe people don't get, like, I don't know. My like collaborator partner, I don't know, is always telling me that my humor is too sophisticated, and I'm like, I don't know how to like dumb it down, man. The people just have to find me. Like that doesn't seem like a dumb joke. That seems like a straight insult, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, no,
whatever.
I think that's a straight.
But you know
burn.
what? That gets to the heart of our space. We all can be better communicators with each other in terms of, you know, using better mediums, getting to know each other better, speaking to each other instead of past each other. It's not your fault that people didn't get that joke, but it is a shame that the right people at the right time didn't get that hilarious message. You know,
honestly, I blame the algorithm. I've been like so punished. I can't get a tweet to get more than like 10 people to see it, and I've got like, you know, 10,000 or something followers. It's silly. Yeah. Okay. I feel really bad.
For a long time.
Have I tried feet pics? It doesn't. You know. God.
Will has been doing the show this week because his primary account got banned from an alt account that is the same name with dolphin in front of it. And he's been doing every single video and live stream in an actual dolphin costume. And here's the kicker. They're getting more engagement than his regular videos. So, could be feet pics, could be a dolphin costume. I don't know. Sometimes you got to shake things up a little bit, I guess. Here he goes. Here's the screen share. Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's really funny.
It's a literal dolphin, and it's.
But the best comment as of yet, this person needs to win something because there was a top comment on one of his last videos that was just like, "Why the fuck is this blue banana giving me financial advice?"
Blue banana.
And I just had to reply, "That is such a good question."
See, I thought the comment was gonna be angry dolphin pile of shit.
No,
that would be a good one. That is, I think, an example of something being super niche.
It's not niche. That one made it onto Twitter recently too. They were like, "Look at this person." Like, I was like compulsively sending you guys that video because it's so funny. That one made it on Twitter recently too, and I was like, "Oh, right again." It is
beautifully performed, and I thank you for turning me onto it because I was unaware. I
think I sprained a muscle in my rib cage laughing so hard.
We have some killer comments rolling in. Like Magic says, Will apparently already has scammers with more followers, and Tori says, I had to stop him from buying a kid-sized dolphin costume.
I don't know how he's going to turn it off. Like, if he gets his account back, because it seems to be that we're tracking that direction, then what? He just goes back to no dolphin costume? Because, I mean, watching a serious... what I love to imagine is that someone, like, stumbles into the morning show and we're in the midst of, like, a no context, so no one's addressed the costume for a minute, and it's just, like, a serious conversation about macroeconomics, and Will is just sitting there silently with his fins folded in front of him in this full-body dolphin suit. And someone's just like, what the actual fuck is going on here? And then just leaves. And I like to think that there are people out there whose only experience with us has been listening to these guys talk about economics while one of them is dressed as a dolphin.
Oh man, the only proper response is for someone else to show up in like a T-Rex costume. Like, I don't know, what do you mean? you just gotta double down, or like you gotta have like just leverage it, right? Like put some like engagement thing on there where like they have to.
I don't know. I feel like the love play is like just never acknowledge it. Just
No,
never
no,
acknowledge
no,
it.
no, 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 no. I got one better. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're going to build a site that you have to deposit crypto into it to vote for the costume he wears on the next show.
Tell me why.
Honestly, the D-Gens would love it. And Will would
Yeah.
love it too. He would be like, I can't wait to see what I get to wear today. He would be so game for that. I can't even tell you.
He would.
Yeah, and then you can have like a separate like Amazon wish list or something where people can just like buy costumes and get them sent is like a different thing. And then like if they're watching when their costume shows up, they get a prize.
I mean,
What if our show is not successful enough immediately to get Will to leave his day job, and the thing that pays for it is the like OnlyFans wish list costume hunt?
well,
I can't
and
believe
two,
you brought up the OnlyFans part of it. Yes, I would love that because the funniest outcome is the most likely, right? Isn't it?
yeah,
I think that's what they say. That's what Elon says.
what is that law? What's that adage? What's it called? Is
I
that
think
Murphy's
it's-
law? No, that's not Murphy's law.
No.
Occam's razor?
Occam's razor is the one that's the simplest explanation is the most likely. But
Yeah.
the funniest is I thought that was Elon.
The
I thought it was
funniest,
something
yeah,
he
that
said.
could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
Uh,
true.
Murphy's Law is like, I don't know if you've ever looked into
If
like
it can
I think
go
this-
wrong, it will go wrong.
Yeah.
Is
Right,
Murphy.
but like I don't know if you've ever looked into like the history of Murphy's Law, but like I think I was like it's got to be Dakota Ring or like it could be wrong. But like I was listening to some podcast about like the origins of Murphy's Law and how it came from like military like I don't know, crazy rocket ship test site something and this guy just like kept getting on the rocket sled and like
Mhm.
I don't know, that was like the Murphy. I don't know, I'll send it to you guys. It's crazy.
My
It's a
dad
segue.
explained it to me at one point, and I can't remember now, but he used to quote that all the time.
Schmack
I mean
says,
that's what it is, yeah.
she says, what if Will goes full Beyonce and leaves as a solo influencer? He takes his talents and goes out on his own. Wouldn't that be
He
so
takes
sad?
the dolphin show on the road. I mean,
Yeah.
listen,
Wouldn't
there's a I would say 60% chance that if somebody votes for a new costume, Will already has it in his armoire. Because that man just has a lot. He could do it. He could be a
So,
one-man
like-
show with 18 costume changes per show.
by law, he would have to pay you guys alimony though, right?
Probably. We are probably legally married by now.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I know his
I feel
address,
like-
so.
If he like broke up with you and your show and he started making money on his other
right.
show, I think he'd have to pay you alimony.
I meant to give you a
makes
ding,
sense.
but it was a good joke. Also, speaking of good jokes, if you have a question, a suggestion, a good joke, or word of wisdom, this is Rise Up After Dark. You're the best part of what we do, and we would love to hear it before, in honor of Mr. William Watson, we ride our cats and cows off into the sunrise.
I also feel really bad that I lost somebody when I was explaining something because I was like excited and I want them
Listen,
to ask again.
She is. I talk about Carol.
I'm in the Discord.
At least once or twice every time I talk to somebody at the protocol level who's like trying to explain to me why this is cool or how to do an interview, whatever. Carol is always my example because you got to be able to explain. Carol is so interested and has such a strong desire to learn more things. She puts in so much effort. She is in her 80s and she's
love
here
it.
every single day, like working on this stuff. And I just,
And Carol is kind of a picture of Murphy's Law. She's got this wonderful sense of humor about these barriers that she continues to face. For example, she's got tremors in her hands, and everything requires a touch screen. And she just seems to be befallen with rough luck in terms of, you know how it is with like Coinbase or Kraken or whatever. Somebody's account gets frozen. Probably Carol's.
no.
Somebody's account glitches and their tokens disappear, or like a setting gets reset. It's Carol. And so she's enthusiastic. She's well informed. She's got a community of people around her, but she is always like Sisyphean task on a hill, kind of running up that hill.
You have just shown me my future. Like that is also me.
Carol and I relate a lot about, we have a very similar sense of humor about, the disorganization in our brain. And she's also very curious. She has the problem of being curious. And when you're curious about everything, then everything asks for your attention and you just love it. You don't probably sleep enough. Your room isn't probably tidy enough, but you do have a lot of fun in life. So, she's great. She's one of the best parts of our community. What's your handle in Discord, Emily? Because I'll say, hey,
I just
you should ask Emily a
messaged in
question.
there. It's Emily Drew.
Okay.
In
I'll look for it.
general, I haven't gone that deep. I suck. Sorry.
Evan, we gotta. I want to make a roll for like
Friends of the show.
friends, people who guests who come in and can
I get
answer
a
questions.
badge.
Yes.
Do I get flair?
Make it. Yes,
Yeah.
you get.
Are you gonna
flair.
fire me if I don't wear 20 pieces of flair? You have to give them to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you run
Great
off with
reference.
Will and form a new band, then we're gonna be really sad about it.
No. I'm much more likely to like install my penny skimming software, just like the movie.
No.
Not from you. Not from you.
Oh my gosh.
I love that movie.
Look at this. Carol left a comment to say, I actually couldn't even pull myself away, and I'm glad I didn't because this last bit was the best. Again, I appreciate the guest you choose. Thank you so much, Carol, for saying that.
Oh, hi, Carol.
Emily's going to be in the Discord. And hey, if you're not in the Discord,
there.
this seems like a good time to tell you that you can join the free Rise Up Discord server at discord.gg/riseup. If you've never joined a Discord server before, you're a little intimidated by it, don't worry. Check out the riseupmorningshow.com. You can click wherever you're watching us to get to our profile. You'll find a link there. And you'll find a helpful tutorial video that walks you through step-by-step how to join a server. It's totally free. It's full of learners at all levels of experience like us, like Carol, like you. And you, my friend, you're the only thing missing. We'd love to see you there. It's the best way to save time, save money, get a second opinion on something. Does this look like Ponzinomics? Has anyone heard of that scheme, scam, whatever? We'd love to see you there.
As a just to like get onto your plug, I feel like Ponzinomics is always talked about negatively, but like there is a term, a lesser known term that I think is really important, and that is good Ponzi, because like sometimes there's enough layers in it that it is a good Ponzi. And if we're gonna be like real for real, like capitalism is literally a Ponzi, right? Like the GDP is literally a Ponzi. If the goal is for it to constantly grow, you either need to make more money or make more people, like, and they all need to work. Like it's like, this is inject more, like social security is a Ponzi. It's all a Ponzi. Like it's a good model as long as it's a secured model where it's like, as long as someone is injecting more, something can come out of it. And if there's like laws around it or there's like a good intent around it, like, yeah, you can make it work. But I think the problem with crypto, like we were saying before, is like the value stops the liquidity almost always. The game sucks. The social experience sucks. The entertainment is mid. No one is really understanding where the value lies. And that's like with your data or like your social graph or like even just the DeFi mechanics that you can put in place. Like people just miss it. And it's really complicated, right? Like we're literally talking about the blockchain equivalent of like what Citadel does. It's not simple stuff. There's a reason that like you have to have many types of certifications and like levels of education and exposure to this stuff for it to like make sense. It's like a self-guided thing. And like I had a head start because I have a degree in economics. And I've like worked in Silicon Valley tech forever, and I'm always building platform-based like SaaS systems. So like I have the right foundation for this to make perfect sense to me, but like it is still ultimately self-guided learning. And oh my God, I think like I have a very distinct memory of like learning about self-custody wallets and like not understanding how to move crypto I think it was from like a MetaMask wallet on my phone to like a Trust wallet on my phone. And I paid the transaction fee because I didn't realize that I could like log in with my seed phrase.
With your key, yeah.
Right, because it was like really unclear to me. Like you don't
totally.
You start at zero. Everyone starts at zero. You don't know what you don't know, and like unless someone is really holding your hand, and like that is incredibly generous of someone if they do. Like you're going to make silly mistakes or like feel like you have a dumb question, and like I have no shame ever about saying I don't know, or like I don't know what that means, or like can you explain that to me, or I've never heard of that. And I think a lot of people do have that problem, but like it only holds you back. Like drop that ego. Who cares? We don't need it.
No,
drop the ego, amigo.
I'm way too obsessed with learning to not tell someone that I don't know something if I feel like I'm about to get taught something new from whoever I'm talking to.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it.
It's my favorite thing.
Plus, I mean, if all you care about is your own image and credibility, I promise that it will do wonders for your credibility when you admit that you don't know something instead of bloviating. Pro tip.
Some people are like scared of not knowing everything, I guess. I'm not one of them. But
Okay, wait. I want to So someone just asked about Maple, and Evan, I know you wanted to hit it at least a little bit, and I actually have a comparison graph that I pulled up that runs between the differences between Morpho and Maple, since we hit Morpho again tonight, which is kind of interesting because there are some interesting differences.
Okay.
And they are both lending protocols, so there's that, with different focuses. But Emily, I'm curious, just as we're kind of, segueing out of the Ponzi talk into perhaps something else. Someone asked about how, real utility and RWA as a niche specifically can fit into this, because the token model completely changes when you introduce tokenizing something specific that doesn't necessarily have to follow your classic cookie cutter tokenomics model. And I'm curious to get your thoughts and opinion, because you look like you have something about that.
Yeah, I totally do. I've been doing a lot of stuff with RWAs and my company recently. And I think it's really fascinating. And there's a lot of things that we've kind of discovered just through our exploration of how to apply our technology into RWAs in general. I think one of the most fascinating things that we've discovered is that you can almost entirely eliminate the incentive that a thief would find for one of these objects, because you've entirely removed the market for being able to sell it if it is properly protected on chain, right? You are getting an enormous element of security if you move something on chain, as long as you're properly protected.
So much cannot overstate that.
Yeah. And I found that to be one of the most fascinating elements about it. And then what I also found really fascinating about RWAs in general and incorporating them onto the blockchain is that it kind of restores the peer-to-peer economy. And I think that there's a lot of businesses out there that are trying to insert themselves as a middleman in the peer-to-peer economy. And that is more harmful to people's ability to create an income source for themselves, right? Where it's I used to be able to just pay my neighbor to walk my dogs for me, and now people are on Rover, right? Or I used to just ask a friend for a referral for their seamstress, which was their aunt that did it out of their spare bedroom. Right. And now people are turning these into hardcore businesses, right? So, send this to get custom size, blah, blah, right? And there's some internet thing and they're going to send you a package and they're going to send it off to, some underpaid child in a country with no child labor laws, right?
Yeah.
And they're just going to pocket the rest of it. And it's going to cost less than the 75-year-old woman who's bored and wants to, keep sewing. But so anyways, my point is, I think RWAs, if we can put them on chain in the right way, actually have the ability to restore this peer-to-peer economy that a lot of these kind of people are showing themselves a gig economy have taken over. And I think that that's really interesting. And it kind of comes back to how all of decentralization can restore the power, with your data, with your economy, with the peer-to-peer economy, into your hands that's slowly been eroded and taken away from you. Mostly with the enshittification of our entire world experience. And enshittification is a real word. And that is a really important thing to look into. And I expect enshittification to quickly breach the AI models that we're very comfortable with using. And if you want a quick summary of enshittification, basically what it comes down to is the ability of one of these overfunded companies to capture a tremendous amount of market share with a very high quality service, to create your dependency on it by making it subsidized through a lot of their funding, and then over time slowly reducing the quality of the service. So I think Amazon and Uber are the two biggest examples that are given.
But also Facebook,
Airbnb,
TikTok.
Well, okay, but to a different degree. Okay, so Uber, when they first came out, was dirt cheap, right? It was a third of the cost of a cab. So everybody downloaded the Uber app and you always got your Uber. They came and checked who you are. And there were all of these rules about who could drive and how nice your car had to be and how it'd be clean. And people got rated, all of this stuff. And then what was normal Uber experience became expensive Uber experience, and the cars got shittier and the drivers got weirder and there was like smells and it wasn't good. And all of a sudden you're back in a cab, but now you're paying twice as much as you would have for a cab back in the day because they slowly increase the prices over time once you're stuck on Uber, right? And the same thing happened with like Amazon, right? Amazon used to be like a really ironclad experience. It was super easy to get customer service, to call the phone, to talk to a person. You didn't get stuck in like a phone menu. Everybody got overnight shipping for free. Then they started charging you for it, right? And all of a sudden you're paying $150 a year to get your like good shipping. And then it's no longer overnight. Now it's 2-day shipping and your price goes up still, but you're so hooked on using Amazon that they're able to turn around and just keep increasing the prices on you, but you're stuck in this habit. And every other business that would have been around as an alternative has gone under because they kneecapped them with all of this funding. So like that's the enshittification.
Yeah, there's a lot to that one. I've told this story a couple times. A friend of mine, his fiance worked for Amazon for like a week before she couldn't take it anymore, and her job was specifically to make it harder for small businesses that use Amazon for distribution to get their product back, so that Amazon would end up with these like sacrificed piles of product that they could mark down by 80% and just do a shitload of volume, and they would effectively steal it from you by just making it so hard for you to claim your shit. So she's like, I literally spent all my time just like ruining small businesses' lives, and I couldn't do it, and I had to leave. Just like for a week. And I'm just like, yep, that sounds like a business model to me.
Hey, I want to bring you back to Maple, and then I have a really good question from Neal that I want to put a pin in to round us out. And I'm going to just tease it by reading it to you. The question from Neal is, why will crypto fail? What does that look like? And why will crypto win? What does that look like? So remember that, keep me honest to it. And let's touch on Maple Finance because a lot of people have asked us about it. It's a great contrast to Morpho, to Raydium. It's something totally different. And all of it will hopefully help us become wiser at seeing things for what they are. Do you want to read a description? Do you want to show us the graph first? Or can I give you a quick summary of what exactly the product is? What would be most helpful for you?
I think if you start with the TLDR and then we could go through the graph. I think it will make sense before the explanation.
Okay, so Maple is a trending permissioned. It's a permissioned credit marketplace, and it's built to facilitate under-collateralized lending, specifically to institutions.
Put a pin in that one. Under-collateralized.
Under-collateralized lending. So it works on Ethereum and on Solana so that institutions can borrow without over-collateralizing, which is something that DeFi protocols typically don't allow. They typically want you to collateralize your assets like really well so that if you need to be liquidated, they can, first of all, it moves the liquidation threshold higher, but if they got to liquidate you, they want something valuable. The loans are issued via liquidity pools, and they're managed by professional delegates. These people, they underwrite the borrowers, they set the terms, and the governance and staking token is MPL, Maple. They delegate, the delegates, they stake it as a guarantee, basically. If the loans go bad, they get partially slashed. And then MPL holders, they make governance decisions on the protocol. They do use token-based incentives, but it's a lot more nuanced than what Raydium does. LPs, they supply capital to a pool, and they can earn interest from borrowers. And on top of that, they might get a bonus APY paid in MPL tokens or USDC, just depending on whether right now the protocol is bootstrapping liquidity or the pool delegate or Maple itself is offering some kind of incentive, which is kind of like what Morpho does. Then the delegates, they earn fees for managing the capital. They got to stake some Maple to show skin in the game, so there's sort of an alignment of incentives there. And if they approve bad loans, then the risk they take is they could get slashed. So it's not just them farming awards. In one sense, it's Ponzinomics because the yield is tied to borrowing demand from actual institutions. More money in, more rewards out.
But to be fair, that's bank Ponzinomics right there. Exactly.
And it's not, I wouldn't say it's Ponzinomics in the crypto sense. And there's no like circular staking loop. But, there are some interesting ways that you could potentially game it if you were interested in like governing the protocol. I feel like that's plenty. Do you have a reaction, Emily, or a take?
If I was intent on collapsing this protocol,
Yeah.
What I would do is I would issue a token to bundle these loans, and then I would sell the bundled. I would literally create a subprime mortgage crisis and wait for them to collapse. Like that's what I would do, and then I would take my profits. And there's nothing to stop you from doing it, right? Like, this is the blockchain. You can do whatever you want. People just have to know that they'll collect like a higher interest rate in theory, right? And then what you could do is you could take that money and you could leverage it and bundle more and issue more tokens and back them with more liquidity. Like, you can create a cascade nightmare situation. You could end it in a week if you wanted to.
I think though you to do that you'd have to be a delegate, and every pool delegate has to stake MPL to underwrite loans, and if the loans default, then they get slashed.
Okay,
So
but listen,
it would disincentivize the reckless bundling.
Like, to do it officially on their platform, that's what you have to do.
I see. So you're gonna open a pool somewhere else and do it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Off protocol. There we go,
Of
baby.
course. And
I
like,
didn't know we were
okay,
going to plan a heist tonight, but I'm thinking we should meet after the stream and talk
the
about it.
the question was what causes it to fail, right? And like, this
exactly. And that would be, honestly, a killer domino to push.
Yep.
yeah, that's what I would do.
Well, and it's very interesting. The first like thread that I pulled in looking into Maple was just like, why would you offer an under collateralized loan if, you know, it flies in the face of the way that these things often work, lending protocol wise. It opens yourself up to a whole different kind of risk. The risk is on the lender at this stage versus the lendee, right? Because like Morpho exclusively deals in over collateralized loans. Aave exclusively deals in over collateralized loans. To a what?
Go ahead. I'll tell you in a second.
To a rather significant like over collateralization percentage. Like Aave's for the GHO stablecoin, for example, like those stablecoin loans are over collateralized to like 170%, which is rather significant. Whereas I think I was trying to find the rate of under collateralization that Maple offers, and I didn't see it. Evan, I don't know if you have.
Okay,
that
so
one,
while you're looking for that, what offends me about under collateralizing loans is like, this is crypto, and you can very quickly up the collateral of an under collateralized loan just by using the right DeFi tools. So like, why are they under collateralized loans? Just put them in some sort of like vault temporarily, waiting for them to mature to actually get the real loan term, right? Like, you have to wait for an approval period for a regular loan anyways. Why can't you just like put it in some sort of a pool where it's gonna get collateral over time because you've put something behind it? Like, what?
I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. Alex, what made my jaw drop was I was just searching the internet to look for like how many delegates are there, how active and robust is this community, how's the network doing? And the article I saw, my jaw dropped because it said they only had 5 delegates on Ethereum and only 2 on Solana who were active, but that was from 2022. So I was like, okay, wait a second.
Okay, but that's
now
old,
there's a dozen.
It looks like, yeah. I mean, in 2023, they still had 8 delegates across 15 pools. I mean,
Yikes.
You could co-opt that. You could really co-opt that. I'm trying to figure out why people
what's the
are
cost
like
of
into it
attack
right now.
What's the cost of
Yeah.
attack to like fund what Emily's talking about on this kind of thing? Because like, so Emily, for context on that, one of the things post consensus, I watched a talk by Garen Tyson, who is the like lead protocol engineer at the Stellar Development Foundation, and he was running this thought experiment on stage that was fascinating to watch, all about the problem with proof of stake as a model, and basically talking about like the risks of building like a financial ecosystem wherein you might be expected to host trillions of dollars eventually, right, of like all this stablecoin theoretical volume that people like to talk about, on top of a blockchain that has a cost of attack of like $50 billion, and how that's just insane. You can't do that because the market cap and the cost of the currency would never reach to. It was a thought experiment, but it was very interesting. And it just always makes me think now, like the first thing that I try to look up every time I see a new protocol, a platform, a decentralized exchange, lending protocol, I don't care what it is, whatever. I want to know exactly what you just described with this idea of the subprime mortgage crisis, you know, but Maple flavored. What's the cost of attack, and what does it look like, and how easy would it be to pull this thing off? And oftentimes it's astonishingly low. Like the cost of attack on most of your favorite blockchains is unbelievably low compared to what you could walk away with if you screwed that thing over. And his example was the slashing risk. So, and we just talked about slashing with Maple as being the incentive away from doing something nefarious. But there was a famous example from 22 or 21 or something like that on Ethereum, wherein a validator who really only stood to lose a couple $1 million if getting slashed was able to co-opt a theft of $150 million. And of course, they'll get slashed all day long. They lost $2 million to make 148, and they walked away. And
no problem.
and the shitty part was that at the end of the day, the protocol, Ethereum, worked exactly as intended. The nefarious validator was targeted, found, identified, and slashed. And the exploit still stood. And then it's like, shit, okay, new problem. And even with Ethereum, which has the highest cost of attack comparatively to all the other big, like layer 1, whatever, and I'm not talking about Bitcoin because it's different. There's different considerations there, is still not as high as you think it is compared to a 400 and a 500 whatever $1 billion market cap. It's like $50 billion.
35x, let's go.
Yeah.
Like
it's astonishing.
So like it would be very easy. And I think this is something that people need to be aware of. Like, okay, so something that's absolutely lacking in crypto and is also something that my company aims to solve is we talked about this. Edward Snowden's gonna fucking hate me. But it's like a social credit score, right? Where it's like, what type of activity have you gone through? How long has your reputation been around? Have you ever done something like this in a way that we can trace, like even just through like gas and emissions, that you've like funded this wallet and done something like really, really, really bad, right? And like you have to prove that like you're not a bad actor and you're not going to do something like this. And having that meritocracy that's actually tracked and that gives you the opportunities to get these like, lower collateralized loans is, I think is like actually pretty important, right? And like you also have to understand something about the individual with a low collateralized loan. Is it something like a micro loan and like the Grameen Bank, which is like done really well, and those are barely collateralized because they are micro loans, and that's like a super interesting thing. And if you don't know what that is, it won the Nobel Prize a few years ago, and it's basically like micro lending for like small businesses in underdeveloped and developing nations. But they're very small amounts of money. And then you have the concept. Then you have like the open frontier of what you can do in crypto, and you can do like all kinds of crazy stuff. You could literally create a liquidity pool, flash loan from yourself, keep backing these loans, and create like a cascade of like money and collateral into these loans. And then you could do what I was saying, where it's like you can wait for the loans to mature and like create more collateral on them. And like, oh no, I got slashed, but then I like took all these loans from other people and defaulted on them. Like you can create a bazillion personas with the sole intent of collapsing a You can literally lock the doors and throw in a match if you like wanted to. Like, I don't know. And like, I don't know why. I mean, maybe there's just not enough there to exploit. But be. Like it is exploitable. Like don't get that wrong. I mean, it's exploitable.
How many times have you seen a flash loan attack? Because I feel like there was
hundreds.
Yeah, there was a stint where I feel like I was seeing a new one every 10 minutes.
Emily, you were the one who told us the story about the guy whose username was low hanging fruit, the watermelon pun emoji.
Yeah. It was like watermelon.eth. That was the best. Yeah. Yeah, like the thing is that I think a lot of people don't understand and they need to understand is like you are walking into the Wild West where people have been around here for years creating weapons that you have never considered. Like and like that is super, super important before you get into one of these protocols. Like it's crazy. That, I don't know.
Emily, I want to ask you for somebody. I'm pretty out of my depth when I start talking about like economics models. It's something I've learned a lot about because mostly of DeFi and honestly because I'm interested in alternatives to capitalism. But if you wanted to help set somebody up for success, evaluating these protocols and some of like the different incentive mechanisms, understanding what an under collateralized loan is and some of the other myriad terms they're going to encounter, do you have like one resource you would recommend, whether it's a newsletter or a YouTube video or a book, that somebody who wants to teach themselves in a fair amount of time could look into?
I mean, I don't have any like content sources with this as a specific example, but if I was going to start learning about these types of mechanics, I would start looking into traditional economic resources. And I don't mean like old ones, but like there's a book that I really like that's called The Unbanking of America. And that's a really interesting book because it's not about crypto. It's about payday loans and cash checking services and why someone might use a cash checking service or even a payday loan where they're legal when they could have a bank, and like what banks are doing to discourage people from getting an account and using that for these processes. And it comes back to all of this like middlemaning going on. So I think it's more like cross training, I guess is what it comes down to. But like those are the types of things that you want to learn about. Also, like there's been tons of like economic research done in developing nations where for like the longest time people were sending like textbooks to kids in Africa, for example, right? Or like paying for teachers to come to classes. And they couldn't figure out why there wasn't an increase in the education and like the, you know, the reading rates and like the education rates and the graduation rates with these kids in like rural African locations. And one experiment caused the requirement for teachers to get a paycheck is that they had to take a picture with themselves in the picture and their class every single day in order to get a paycheck. And what that uncovered is that teachers weren't showing up at all. And then like the teachers that were doing this, the second that they put this in place, the education rates absolutely skyrocketed. And then there's like another one where they were sending textbooks and they found out that like a lot of the kind of like crime syndicates would go to schools and just like steal the textbooks and then sell them on the black market because textbooks are like worth money. And instead they started sending them these like printed flip charts instead of textbooks because those have no value. And that increased like the literacy rates because now they have the educational materials in something that's not considered an item of value. So there is nothing to steal at that point. So like, I think, but like what that shows us is a lot of like, what is the real value, and is something valued artificially? In this case, the textbook itself is valued artificially because people think that this is where the knowledge comes from, but the knowledge can be delivered in a different form that isn't valued artificially, that doesn't create a negative incentive model, right? Where like, here's something that I can steal, therefore I will go steal it. This is something that I cannot really steal, or there's no reason for me to steal it, but it does achieve the same task. Or like the same goal. And I think like understanding this type of thinking is really critical to being able to evaluate these protocols, because it's gonna help you understand like, is there real value here? Or is the value being extracted from me in some way? Am I a temporary citizen of this protocol that they can go and report back to, you know, their grant for hitting a benchmark, or to like the VC that funded them, and now they get their next round or their next like check in their funding because I'm like a temporary citizen of this protocol? Or is there actual value coming out of it? And if it's the case where you're a temporary citizen because you're trying to get like your stimmy check, you need to understand that you are the value that's coming out, you have to be the first one to extract it unless they announce something that can keep it going. But like frequently you don't see that type of layer being put on there. And I like, again, it brings me back to the point that like, they don't really understand where the value actually comes from, right? I'm an individual, me making transactions is worth something, but I'm never as fast as a bot. Like a bot is always going to be faster than me manually entering what I want to do and clicking. And it doesn't mean that there isn't value for me to take out of the blockchain itself. There's things that I want to achieve, but the blockchain will value the bot more because the bot is able to generate more transactions.
Right. So yeah. Not an easy answer in terms of what's the resource, but a very helpful thought in terms of how to think about it.
I know. I wish I had like an easy answer for you, but
I'm not picking on you when I say it. I like that.
I'll just come up with like 30 book recs and like a couple of podcasts.
Yeah,
So.
here you go, Evan. Here you go. Here's your syllabus. I also will say that if this is something that you want to learn more about, you're interested in maple and syrup specifically, that's something we can chase down maybe on another show, because it looks like their syrup product is the one that most people talk about on socials, and it's got a whole different sort of thing than this institutional under collateralized thing. But honestly, I think we might have to look at it another time. I feel like it's time to tally our points, announce a winner, and give some final thoughts on this question that Neal asked. So can I reiterate this question and then get both of you to give us a take on it? Because I think it's fabulous. And I'd like to hear, let me say this too. If you're listening, whether now, live, or in the future, first of all, thank you. We love you. And we'd like to hear your answer too. I issued a challenge to someone in podcast land. I said, if you leave us a review with your comments, then I will pick somebody at random to win a fabulous prize, one of our great prize packages. And I haven't seen anybody do it yet. Although somebody did press the little text us button. It's a new feature that Buzzsprout, our podcast platform, offers. The problem is, I have no idea who you are. It anonymizes it. So you got to leave us a comment on the platform. It'll help us if you want to win a fabulous prize. I'm so
Great
sorry
tool.
to that person. Right? Yeah, so sorry to that person. Here's a point for free to someone anonymous. But here's the question, guys. Why will crypto fail? And what does it look like? And why will crypto succeed? And what does it look like? And on the way to the answer, I just want you to hear what Neal had to say from the comments. He said, yo, Emily's room is a vibe. So thank you, Neal.
I got to fix it. It's like a whatever. Anyways, thank you. Thanks for ignoring my, is that blocked?
And Homer says, dibs on the anonymous point. So if you've got a take on why crypto will fail, why it will succeed, what that looks like, please leave that in the comments for us. If you've got another final thought, a Ponzinomics suggestion, an idea for Will's solo dolphin band, or something else entirely, then leave that in the comments too. And Emily, is our honored guest, do you want to give your take on that question, or you want to pass it off to Alex?
I mean,
why will crypto fail? Why will it succeed? And what does that look like?
Okay, so crypto is kind of like a virus. I don't think that it actually needs to fail. So like the thing that we've been facing that I think we've been seeing a lot of and no one really dissecting is a chain gets too expensive to participate in, or it gets taken over by governments. Like too much share is going into the hands of centralized governments. All you have to do is spin up a new chain. Like the liquidity isn't there on launch, but if you build the chain with the right types of tools to attract the right types of things, you can just keep spawning new chains. Like there is nothing to stop it. The only thing that could be stopped, I guess, is like the cooperation of an ISP preventing you from operating on that. But like, again, there's ways around it every single time, right? Like we can get around our ISP. The technology just like doesn't exist in like cryptos. I don't think it's going away. Honestly, I think it was kind of like a split off from the early internet. Like you used to host your website on your computer under your desk. You didn't used to like host it on Webflow or whatever. It was just like a bunch of HTML and it was running off your own computer. And like if your computer was turned off, then your website goes down. I think of it very similarly. I don't believe it's going away, and I don't think it can get regulated away. I think that would make it harder, but like we all know how good prohibition works, like not that good. So I think it works better on things that there's like a major moral opposition to, but like there is no real moral opposition here. It's more of just like people waking up to being like, why are they taking so much money from me? Like, why am I paying $6 a month for a bank account, but I can't keep my balances high so they can loan out my money 25 times over? That's crazy. So yeah, anyways, and ultimately I think that there is kind of an awakening happening, and we're constantly fighting against the quality of education to try to help get ahead of that and like maintain things like reading comprehension and like the ability to analyze history and like even understanding what a primary source is versus a secondary source as far as information goes. So I think like it's coming down to like a battle of knowledge and a battle of education, and be wary of giving away something of value for free and not getting anything in return.
On the way to Alex's answer, Homer says, many cryptos will fail. Some will last a long time. And Uncle T says it will fail because of scams. It will succeed with education. Alex, what about you? What's your take on why crypto will fail or succeed and what that looks like?
I think you could.
Go for it.
I think crypto will thrive because of scams.
Interesting. There's a take.
Say more.
I mean, I interrupted Alex, and I feel really bad about it. So.
Don't feel bad about it. He didn't even start it. We record him all the time. It's his show. He's going to be here every single day. He can say whatever the hell he wants to. This is your chance to shine. You're our guest, Emily.
Yeah, okay. So when I say I think it will thrive because of scams, where there is opportunity, there are people, right? Like wherever there are people, or wherever, like the people are indicative of opportunity. And there's always going to be bad actors. And there's going to be good actors too. But like we all know, you make faster money as a bad actor. And there's reasons you don't want to, right? There's punishment, right? Like, and we don't want to face it because they are meant to disincentivize you. But there's people who have like figured out how to go around that. If there is a crowd, there's a pit pocket. Right? If there's people standing in line, there are bacon wrapped hot dogs. Like these things go hand in hand. The opportunity is there. It has nothing to do with the scam, right? It has to do with the opportunity. Pegging it as a scam doesn't really create like the moral opposition that would prevent people from participating in it. And ultimately, like because of the inherent security of crypto, the tooling needs to catch up, but like you can protect yourself from scams. You can learn about how to. I can't stop you from buying like a crap product. I like recently got roasted to all hell for buying like a really bad swimsuit from like some knockoff website, and I just like wanted a cheap swimsuit, and the price seemed like about what I normally pay, and it looked nothing like the image. This was like on Reddit. But it's like, I don't know, that business is going to be around as long as people, as long as they can accept credit cards. The only thing that's going to get their credit cards revoked is by people making enough chargebacks against them. And like, it took me many hours to find like the receipt for this item in my inbox because it took so long to get there. Like there's ways to get around it. Like and the fact of the matter is they will extract as long as they're able to extract, and then they'll come back in a different form. And there is no market in the world immune to this.
Yeah, totally. Not in the capital world. Not at all. No. Alex, I see you're answering your comment, so I'm going to give my answer next. I would say I saw you about to say no. I got it. I would say
take it.
I would say it all comes back to incentives. That if crypto fails, who let the dogs out? Who?
Sorry.
No, it's okay. There's no threat. I thought it was Alex's house. That's not you.
There's like a really small dog losing its mind outside, and then like my big dog is like, I'm here.
Between Alex and I, we have dogs that freak out at all. You know, my mailman has the audacity to visit my house every day. And I know he's got neighbors who have the audacity to breathe and exist in proximity.
Yeah, sometimes my neighbors go places and leave their house, and I'd say the nerve of some people.
It's wild, man. It's wild.
How dare they?
So if crypto's going to fail, if crypto's going to succeed, it's all about incentives. And in a world of like capital, then unfortunately, like that's the incentive right now. The prevailing value of the world is that resources are scarce. And as long as the systems around us enforce this belief that resources are scarce, and the way you must get them is by trading your time for money to trade for food and rent or other equivalent things for food and rent, these resources we say are scarce, then that is going to be where the incentives align. And if crypto fails, it'll be because of bad incentives. If crypto succeeds, it'll be because of good incentives. And what does that look like? Well, it looks like cooperation or competition. Those could be the good or bad incentives. It looks like abundance or scarcity. But ultimately, if I had to say, I would say it starts with more regenerative, life-giving values, where more people have the freedom to experience the fullness of life. And systems that will give it life. I think blockchain, AI, hammers, nails, they're tools that can help us make it happen. And the way we design our tools depends on the values that we have. the incentive is to get more capital. But I think there's an opportunity to imagine what a world would look like beyond that if things were truly, the story we told was that they were abundant. That's what I think. Alex, what about you?
I think that the reason that individual projects will fail can be picked out of a hat of reasons that include things like scams, tech illiteracy, volatility, impracticality, scalability concerns, speed problems. Like, there are a lot of different, I mean, the fact that, like you hit on earlier today, Emily, you know, people, and I always think about this tweet from Mert that is just always in my head, and this is basically the same thing. If you're struggling with product market fit, have you ever considered building something that the market wants? and it's just like, it's so true. And, you know, there's a million reasons that a million different cryptocurrencies are going to fail forever. Overall, I don't think the industry is going anywhere. At this point, there's just no way. I think that Emily is spot on with the analysis of, you know, crime and scams and fraud are indicative of a large group of people with money moving around that are just ripe for the picking. We talked earlier today about Solana as an ecosystem and how a lot of people were talking about, you know, decrying the ecosystem because it was full of memes and the casino was big and whatever. And it's like, why do you think the casino exists there? Why do you think that all of those projects go there to try to max extract? And they're not building on other ecosystems where there is no liquidity and there are no people and there are no users and there's no volume. It's because of this exact phenomenon. Like, that is indicative of success. So, yeah, I think you can become, you know, lethal in the space by learning the jargon, like I always say, learning how to get information directly from a chain. I don't think crypto is going to fail. I think if anything was going to, like, severely kneecap it, it would be probably what William Quigley talks about a lot. Blockchain is amazing at a few things, and it's really not that good at most other stuff. But we keep trying to shoehorn it as a solution to a bunch of shit that doesn't need it. And that slows us down. And, you know, what's the opposite of progress? So,
Egress,
you know,
regress.
The longer we keep treading water in the exact same place without ever moving forward at all, the longer that we, like, delay success. But I don't think it's going to fail.
I mean, at least it's giving people more time, right? I mean, you can buy a shitcoin or you can buy a Labubu. I guess they both go to the dump in the end, but one you can write off as a loss. So
What's a Labubu?
You don't know this?
Labubu?
Labubu. You're like on TikTok. You don't know this? It's like this very ugly little doll, but they're like super popular and they're like kind of terrifying looking. But they're like keychains and stuff, and it's just like the it thing to have right now. And they're also like hard to get, which makes them much cooler, of course. Short squeeze on Labubus. But like, you know, it's just a fucking hunk of plastics and get fucked up in the end. So whatever.
That's kind of a cute little guy.
Okay.
Like, whatever, Labubu.
Okay.
No? Not a Labubu, Maxi. Hang on, let me get a quick screen share. Just for the audience. Tell me, am I Labubu or Delulu?
How do you know about these?
Because Evan,
I googled them. That's
right.
Evan,
So like,
Evan doesn't watch movies. He doesn't watch TV. He's not on the internet. He just
decentralized. My parents, you wouldn't understand. I don't know.
He's a
well,
dork.
here you go, peer to peer. I taught you about something trending and like, anyways.
It's beautiful.
Um,
Carol says, my cheeks are hurting from this wide grin you all put on my face. Now I want a clip of that. Thank you, Carol.
I love it. But yeah, like I don't know. We've been like hyper programmed to consume, and that's like a result of the, you know, Ponzi that is the GDP. Like you must consume something. So
well,
like,
and it's
why
accelerating every year.
It's capital.
Yeah,
it's capital.
yeah,
it's
and
monetary.
like anytime someone complains about the birth rate, like That's a primary, or that's like a first level thinking, right? They're just like, there's not enough people being born to make more people. It's like, that's not what they're worried about. They're worried about the fact that there isn't the next generation of labor. Like, come on, get it together. All of this is like, it's just, I think one of the biggest unlocks that any individual can like come to understand is where you are compared to everybody else. And like I think in like one perspective, some people are like, they're thinking about like the billionaires on their yachts and like going on these crazy vacations and like buying all these luxury goods, and they're like jealous of it, like, why can't that be me? I want these things, right? And like this is like the programmer where you're like hyper conditioned to consume, versus like understanding that like that's not your position in life in this moment or like in the zeitgeist. And if that's like a goal, you need to set it as a goal, but you don't reach that goal by mimicking or like memeing that lifestyle. You can't spend more than you have the ability to spend and achieve that lifestyle. You have to understand that like what you need to do is start leveraging financial tools to achieve that. And because that is not you, you cannot consume like that, right? Like say goodbye to the designer bags, like spend $200 on a high quality purse from like some artisan. Don't go buy some like, same thing made in a factory for like a lot more money, because that's not, that doesn't equate with like where you are in the world. And like, I think like understanding that and like spending your effort and your time on like figuring out what these tools are and how they work and how you can like navigate the world to become this is much more important than just like sitting there being bitter and like trying to mimic it, right? Like I keep coming across these TikToks that make me absolutely crazy, because it's like obviously at a car dealership, and car dealerships obviously make a ton of money by selling loans, and they go around everyone that works at the car dealership and they're like, oh, what kind of car do you drive and what's your payment on it? And these people are like, they're making payments at like $1,700 a month. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude?
What?
70? I'm not kidding. And then you cut like there's one person who like isn't dressed, like they're like dressed normal and they like, or they're pretty laid back and they're like, I don't have a payment and I drive a 2005 Subaru. And like, right. And like you see this and you're like, this guy has got to work in the finance department because they're too informed to know. But like, yeah, like I said, that's like one of the biggest unlocks that I think people can come across. And I don't know. Anyways, don't spend your money on a Labubu, please.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to announce to you the point totals as they stand. In last place with 1 Gwump each, it's a tie between Multiverse X, Discord, and whoever the hell it is at the car dealership paying $1,700 a month on their car. That's absolutely not ideal. Then we have a couple of honorable mentions with 1 point. Congratulations. We've got Neal, Tori, Mert, Solemn, Wall Street, and Emily's dad. Congratulations. Thank you for playing. With 2 points, we've got Robert Steckler in the comments. You guys missed. He made a really underrated comment about like hacking a DeFi protocol, and he was like, "We're gonna need a couple of Romanians." It's like,
I missed that. That's hilarious.
the joke is a lot of our crack developer friends in the blockchain world, they're a lot of them from Romania. So shout out Romania. And that means in third place. With 4 points and 1 Gwump, it's Alex. Congratulations on your third place finish. In second place, it's me with 4 points, no Gwumps, and that means your winner tonight. Once again, she's a ringer. It's our friend, Emily. Congratulations, Emily. You've won a prize for EA, Easy Money with no Z. Easy Money, send us a DM, and we will send you a fabulous prize of your choice. And if you want to win a prize, then let me remind you that you can sign up for a totally free trial of our premium membership, or you can skip the line if you're convinced of the value. Try it before you buy it. Maybe you sign up next Tuesday night, and we'll pick you as the winner, and then you can rug us and run away and never pay us $1. But there's a lot of good stuff there. You can get discounts to coaching, the classes we've taught, anything we do live, you get first access to, and you get connected with the most engaged, committed members of the community. It's a great way to accelerate your learning journey, but you don't have to spend a dime to learn with us. You can come back to the show. We're live Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. Central. We're live every Wednesday for After Dark, and we are in the Rise Up Discord server. The only thing missing there is you. You can find all the links to that and more at theriseupmorningshow.com. So, friends, as we prepare to ride our dogs and ponies off into the sunset, Emily, do you have any last asks, final thoughts for our audience? And where's the best place for them to find you?
I am on Twitter the most, but I'm trying to cut back. But I am in the Discord too, and I said hi, and no one said hi to me, and now I'm scared I'm in the wrong Discord.
Oh, no.
Let's see. Final thoughts. If you're just getting started on your DeFi journey, big recommend to just do very secure products, simple like Meteora vaults and like beefy vaults, and don't do it without having someone who can help you out with your taxes. And that's like most of those services don't know how to do that, which is weird. They know how to like handle basic transactions, like if you're a trader, but not like. Anyways, that would be my biggest advice. And if you buy a ledger to help you, definitely take the seed phrase it generates for you, then wipe your ledger and try to re-input the seed phrase before you actually use the wallet, because like this is a bug I've come across so many times. That's my other piece of advice.
What's the bug? I don't understand what the bug is.
They'll give you a seed phrase that's not connected to the wallet that they put you on. And it happened on like a bunch of old ones, mostly with a bunch of like boomers. I've gotten so much like business helping people recover their wallets from old ledgers because like the seed phrase they wrote down from the old ledger did not match the wallet in their ledger itself. So anyways.
That is wild. Okay, good.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe the number that I came across. Like, and it's all people that like knew each other, and I was like, what? But like, what happened? Like, I have it in front of me. I'm like entering it into a computer. Like, nothing is coming up. None of the 100 wallets that are like generated when you start a new address are coming up. Like, what happened? And then I like eventually just like backed my way out of software, and like kept down versioning until I could like get it to work to make a transaction. But yeah.
Al, what about you? You got a final thought? Question, suggestion?
I was just going to say,
word for our audience.
I think that very topical tonight. I think honestly, it's too cool for me to wait until whatever, and I'm putting it out into the universe. We had an interesting talk with someone that some of you guys who have been around with us for a few years probably recognize. Michael, one of the original Faceless Labs people, who is now off in AI land doing all sorts of crazy AI things. And he's in the process of being conscripted to help us do some pretty cool shit. So with the full transcript after every single episode, I am very excited to start like using AI to prompt and pull out like segments that we discussed, even if they take place from like all over the episode, and skip around and like collect it all into one little bundle and then publish little chunks. So if you wanted to see like just the news headlines that got covered on one episode, you could watch or listen to that little mini podcast. And if you wanted to just hear like what was the market update for the day, just that little segment. If you wanted to hear like what was the tutorial that you guys talked about anchor staking today, like give me the mini podcast about anchor staking. You could do like literally all of these. And Evan, the thought I had today was like, I bet it's not that long until like our GPT can just get the transcript from every single episode, and then other people's GPTs could ask our GPT what they missed and ask questions about things that happened on the episode. Agent
100%. And they're going to be better than me. Somebody's going to be like, what was that thing you said on episode 255? And I'll be like, dude, fuck if I know. And my GPT will be like, hey, thanks for trusting me to help. You know what I mean? Like, ding.
I love it. That's awesome. I wish I had someone who did that for me.
Dude, seriously. Oh, Alex has got dog drama too.
Oh no,
Save
mine's
the drama
just sitting
for
here.
your mom.
Can you see him? He's just like sitting here being here. He's just like pet my head.
Bud. What's his name?
That's Hansel.
Hansel.
Now that we're
Hello,
talking about
Hansel.
nothing, Hansel has a crazy story. Okay, so like total non sequitur. Hansel was found swimming in the ocean after his owner drowned.
What?
Which is like nuts, right? It's crazy.
Hansel, are you okay?
Okay, listen, I have a pool and he is like nuts around my pool. If someone's like splashing around, he's like trying to like yank him out of the pool, and it like scares the shit out of like little kids. But normally I just like put him away. But yeah, he's a Hansel.
What a buddy. We are a fan of dogs on the live, so he's welcome back anytime. Alex, you got rugged, but please continue. I was just hitting you with the assist.
You know what's funny is it rugged me right at the moment where you said, you know what would be so cool if you could. I was just like sick.
You'll have to listen to
I
the
don't
recording and
remember.
get it later because it was really cool, man.
I didn't get a single ounce of it. But
Well, we can talk about it more on the show tomorrow, yeah? Are you well met?
yes.
I am well
Absolutely.
met as well. And Emily, we are so grateful to you for making time to appear on the show. The audience loved it. They raved about it. If you did not get your question, you didn't get your suggestion, you didn't get to lodge your complaint, then come back tomorrow or leave it in the Discord. We will be back. We promise. Thank you for spending your time with us. It's your most valuable asset, and you truly are the very best part of what we do. So, my friends, another episode of After Dark in the books. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, be well, my friends. Rise up.